That's good. What you got?
Kelly, would it be bad if we turn it off while we're not talking?
No,
You have to hold it. Oh, yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, you have
Is
to
that-
shut the on button or
Excellent.
hold the button.
All right. This is a city council meeting, special meeting workshop agenda, February 11th, 2026 at noon, city council chambers for the strategic planning workshop kickoff. At 1123 Lake Street. We have Council President Deb Rule, Joe Spiro, Joe Tate, Josh Torres, Pam Duquette, Kyle Schreiber, along with myself, Mayor. We'll just start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Right. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, welcome. Thank you all for making time in your day and lives to embark on this important effort. This is going to be the council's strategic planning kickoff workshop. I am done my best to try to bring you some staff resources, and they're going to be presenting some high level master plans, sort of economic elements, some brief discussion about the urban renewal district, really trying to bring everyone up to speed of where we're at on our capital projects. And then I think the big direction here is to help you facilitate and choose a facilitator for your ongoing work. My role in this is the council's strategic plan. I'm stepping out of this to let you do that. You've got tons of resources between Fonda or Zach or Cheryl and who you have here that can help guide you and coordinate that. I am sincerely excited for your work. I think it's going to be very unifying for all of us at the city as elected officials to come up with those changes or elements of the strategic plan. We'll put those in place and you'll deliver them to the mayor and adopt them. And then I will implement those in the administration of the city. I'm here as a resource, but you know, I'm not going to participate unless if you have specific questions or elements you want me to come in and give you thoughts on. I'm certainly available to do that. But with that, short and sweet, I hope staff brings you some good information today. I've reviewed what they're going to present. I think it's helpful, and I wish you tons of luck and success as you proceed on this. I think it'll probably take you a couple of different meetings to get it done, but again, look forward to your end product. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Council President. And I stole that from someone. Thank you. You bet.
All right, so I don't know which staff member wanted to start, but I know that Fonda is gonna help us keep a little organized here, so I'm gonna allow her to keep us organized and we'll go from there. I don't know if she has a little intro about explaining what we're doing and whatnot.
I do, and I brought for you guys, some of you may already have these, but just in case, this is the current. We adopted strategic plan. It's on your website. But here it is in draft. And the other thing that I brought for you is a list in chronological order. All of the currently adopted master plans. And so I know staff has taken some time to put together presentations for you today to talk about what the current master plans say. And before they do that, I just want to give a little overview of, and I have some for you guys too, an overview of sort of what the strategic planning goal is and how it relates to your plans that are already adopted and how those adopted plans drive the direction that your staff takes so that you guys can see how all of that flows flows out and then have a better overview of things that are being brought to you by staff and where that is coming from. So just high level overview. You've all heard us talk about the Local Land Use Planning Act. So that is one of, that is the statutory directive for a city to do comprehensive planning. To have a methodology in place whereby you have decided how you want your city to build out essentially. And I know that relates to land use, but it flows into the necessity for your master plans. So out of LUPA comes the directive for your comprehensive plan. A lot of you have recently participated in the adoption of your newly created comprehensive plan. And then from your comprehensive plan, you get your master plan. So your comprehensive plan is your visionary guiding document, and then your visionary guiding document will direct your master planning efforts. So master planning for sewer and all the services that you provide, but sewer, public safety, transportation, parks. You guys have some additional unique master plans that are beyond just basic infrastructure, but those have been adopted by councils, most of them previous to you, but it doesn't negate the fact that they are still an adopted master plan that you're required to follow. Out of your master planning effort comes your capital improvement project plan, and your capital improvement project plan can have projects that are a year out to 10 to 20 years out. So your capital improvement project planning is where you're saying, okay, our master plans say that we need to expend resources here. And then you decide as a council that you want the resources spent on certain capital plans, and that goes in your capital improvement plan. Last but definitely not least, and it's a smaller portion, without your capital improvement plan, you don't have the ability to assess impact fees. And most of you have been through the exercise of the impact fee methodology recently and the adoption of new impact fees that help growth pay for growth, so that development is paying for the growth that's coming that you've planned for, clear back up to your comprehensive plan. I think there's been some confusion over your master planning and what's in place and what's not, and what is staff bringing to you as projects and directives. Because this city kind of did things a little bit backwards. So if you just look at the date order on the list I gave you of the master plans, you'll see that you have a comprehensive plan that is 2025 and a lot of master planning effort that came before that. And so normally you would have your comprehensive plan first, adopted, updated, and then a review and our update of your master plans after that. So it's probably where you're ripe for. And I want you thinking in those terms as you start working your way through your strategic planning and what's important to you as it relates to maybe updating master plans before certain projects come forward or things like that. The strategic visioning and the strategic planning is really this 3 to 5 year window of time of what is important to you as a council for the city to accomplish over the next three to 5 years. And so I just kind of wanted to set that framework before your staff comes up and starts walking you through what the master plans currently require and kind of what's been accomplished and what hasn't. In addition to that, I mean, you may want to, if you haven't already, I did this exercise, but I only know it through my lens. But in one of our breaks or as we're doing the work today, go through the initiatives that are outlined in the current strategic plan and sort of check off what's already been accomplished. And I can even just look at housing diversity and growth. Complete a growth, housing, and economic supply, demand, and land use study to inform strategies to address affordable and workforce housing needs. This was kind of the first one that jumped out at me because it's been a hot topic and I'm just going to use it as an example. You have a housing and economic analysis that was adopted in 2022 by City Council, that initiative to do the study was done. If you don't like the study or you want the study updated, that's something to talk about. But as far as looking at those sorts of needs, the study itself in the strategic planning was completed. That's just an example of check the things off in the strategic plan that is currently in place that have already been completed. And then you'll be looking at, do we like the ones that are that are left? What priority do we give them? Do we have other initiatives we'd like to add to this? And that's what you'll be doing in your beyond today, in your big strategic planning effort. So as you think about a facilitator for that and sort of what you'd like to see a facilitator do for you, that's what you're looking at. What of these have been accomplished? Which ones do I like? Where do I want them in priority? And or are there things missing? And that's just sort of your homework to do between now and when you have your full-on strategic planning exercise and efforts. This is not designed today to like throw a bunch of information at you that you have to digest right now and make a decision on. This is just to get information to you. So as you leave here and prepare for your strategic planning exercise, that you know kind of what work is important to do before that day. So I've said a lot. Does anybody, this is also very interactive. Does anybody have questions on what I've said so far? Don't look like a deer in the headlights already. It's too early. That's just like hour 2.5.
Lighten it up, right?
Liven it up.
We're talking about plans we already adopted. You're talking about these ones, right? Go
Correct.
back and look.
Yes. Yeah, those are the plans that are currently adopted. And those plans in and of themselves, I'm going to be really honest, even through my lens, can be overwhelming. I was exploring the idea, even with Zach, we haven't even put this out anywhere else, of maybe finding a way to go through the exercise of having those plans summarized so that you can at least have a summary sheet of this is what the plan says, this is what the goals and objectives are, this is what the primary initiatives that flow out of that. And I think Jason's done a little bit of that work for you on the plans that are in his purview. Yes. May I call you by first names?
Please do.
Thank you.
I've been called way worse. So have you guys ever got these plans and put them in any type of AI to summarize or make bullet points?
That would be the next step. Jason probably has, and that's exactly what we were talking about as an exercise for you after today.
And Google Notebooks are pretty fun to like put PDF. So, I mean, I can do it. I just don't want to. So if somebody's gonna do it, that's great.
If one of the council requests out of today is to have the plan summarized in a format that's a little more usable, I think that's a great action item coming out of today to help get those to you quickly so you can have them in preparation for your strategic planning
I
meeting.
think that would make our strategic plan much more effective.
Agreed.
What's our responsibility with AI, like with regards to what we can put in specific to the city, like information and stuff like that? Cause I
That's a
know,
great question.
It is a great
Anything that's public information. So anything that you're pulling off the city website is fair game for AI. Frankly, it's probably already been in some form of AI anyway. So, but that's a great question. Anything other than that, you should probably talk to us first.
Yes, agreed. And all of these plans are on your website. So
You can literally just Google City of Sandpoint Master Plans.
Reading them and remembering them are two different things. I read through most of those, but
well, and that's where a summary sheet might be useful, just to kind of have even with you when projects are coming forward where staff in their staff report has reference to master plan. It might be nice to just have those summary sheets as sort of reference. Joe, did you have a question?
Yeah, as far as the facilitator goes, can they like give us like a pre-meeting survey, each one of us, so then we can kind of give them a heads up of what we're looking for, then they can kind of digest that, and when we all finally meet, they have a
Yes.
better idea of where each one of us is sitting.
So I think that's a really great question. When I go into other cities and I facilitate strategic planning for them, which I outside of the state of Idaho, that's exactly what we do. I get some input ahead of time from each of the participants as to what their expectation is, so that facilitator can formulate sort of the opening introduction and the rules of how the process is going to go. And all of those rules are driven by input received from the participants. So the answer is yes.
and I would,
Sarah, I see you on the big.
Whole world can see you.
I would kind of include that as part of the scope. We want proposals from the facilitators. Like part of what I'm gonna be getting out of this is what do we want the scope to look like for, for a facilitator to be able to give us a proposal for the services that we're looking for?
Well, and I could even start with that by saying it's probably going to be the pre-meeting input from the participants, a willingness to take that in, a willingness to spend a full day with your participants. The meat of it we can talk about at a later date, or it's gonna formulate here. And then the willingness of your facilitator to draft the summary of the strategic plan and the detail of the strategic plan to be brought to council for adoption at a
Yes.
meeting. So at the very least, the framework of
Right.
that original input, the facilitation of the exercise, and the post-exercise work product.
Right,
Okay.
the
Do
end
we
result.
remember who our last facilitator was? when
I think Cheryl has that.
We had
Who was the gentleman? that-
City administrator.
It was, he was with, Avista. And he did strategic planning for Avista. I have the name, I'll pull the name while we're in here. I got the impression that, no, we wanted to be looking at firms, so I have some firms that do it. And I have like their bios to just hand out so that you all can read. One of the firms I reached out to didn't have time in the short time frame to get me anything on them. But I'll still reach out to them for a proposal as well. But I do have info to share with everybody.
And we'll get to that. If you notice on the agenda, that's the second
Should've
agenda
looked
item.
at it, sorry.
Yeah. Any other questions about process or sort of the kickoff of what it looks like to do the strategic planning? Yes.
And maybe this is item number 2 as well, but for a facilitator to understand kind of like the way that we have structured our master plans, what we're looking for, and then maybe if we get a little more detail for each one, you know, what each one of these entails. And then they could, you know, digest all that so they kind of understand what they're getting into.
That is information that would be provided to them ahead of time. Yes.
Yeah.
They're not going to work with you on the details of pet projects. They are going to work with you on the overview of the direction of your city as a result of what you've already adopted as a comprehensive plan and trying to get, they're consensus builders. So they're trying to get consensus from the council of the priority list. And there's even metrics and mechanisms for having you vote on certain different initiatives while you're in the strategic planning meetings so that it gets a score. Like there's objective measurable ways so that it's not just all subjective input. Of course, there's a lot of subjective input. You're all individuals. You were elected for a reason. You have platforms, you have goals, you have projects, but there are mechanisms for people who have done this professionally that they utilize to help you have consensus on these priorities.
Cool. It's great.
I just wanted to say that, I mean, I appreciate Cheryl, you're listening to firms, in no way. It doesn't necessarily need to be a firm. I mean, an individual could be their own firm. As long
Yes.
as they're capable and have experience and know what we're wanting from them, and also knowing like what we want written up as a summary.
So knowing our area.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Would it be appropriate for Jason, and then Cheryl, with regards to the fiber? I don't see anything about that in here. Is that an appropriate request to add that into the summary?
That addresses
Of
our
what we talked
fiber.
about?
We don't have a master plan, but we have a business plan for our fiber.
I would love to add that, I guess, to the list. Okay.
so what's on that list are plans that have been adopted by previous councils already. So I just want to make sure I understand your question correctly. If we have any sort of a business plan for fiber, you want it added, but we could put an asterisk that says not adopted. Is that,
Perfect. Thank you.
okay? Thank you.
I believe the business plan was adopted by council in
Not on the
20,
website. It's not on the website as an adopted plan.
I think back in 2018.
I wonder if that's something we maybe not want on the website.
Something that what?
Yeah,
I missed that. What was that?
A business plan that maybe you don't want a business plan.
We might not want that on the web.
Oh, gotcha. But it's not, so I'm hearing, you think it's an adopted plan?
it's not, it was never considered a plan. It was done before I was here. And from what I understand, it was brought to council, I think in 2018.
So we would just need to do a little research on, is
Yeah.
there a resolution related to fiber? Okay.
I have to do some hunting on that.
And maybe a clarifying question as well. Are all documents identified as plans considered adopted master plans of the city?
What was that again?
Are all documents identified as plans considered adopted master plans? At the
So
city?
not necessarily, but first of all, adoption requires resolution. So let's be real clear on that. You could have plans that were created by a professional that were used for decision-making that never came to council to be formally adopted by resolution. So I think that's a distinction we want to be really clear on. Adopted is a previous council reviewed it, deliberated on it, and adopted a resolution, approved a resolution adopting a plan as a guiding document for the city. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was thinking of the term like fiber business plan as opposed to like an infrastructure plan or a
Right.
capital improvement plan. A business plan, you know, we've like internally developed like business plans for the James Russell Sports Center, but it's not like that was an
That
adopted
is not an
plan.
adopted, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great.
I just didn't know if the fiber business plan was, like you said, if it was adopted resolution, it's an adopted plan.
Yeah, we'll
Oh.
dig into that.
It was 2017 and
Did I
Yes,
miss a
yeah.
time frame on this or was there one?
Timeframe on what, huh?
The whole thing.
So-
Strategic plan to get to council.
So the timeframe is really gonna be driven by when the professionals can facilitate. This will take you guys all day, if not multiple sessions. So the strategic planning is not an exercise for the faint of heart by any means. It's a pretty dig deep, learn a lot, create a product that you can be proud of that's usable for the next 3 to 5 years specifically. So that time frame will be driven by whoever you select, how quickly are they available, and then post work, how quickly can they get a written product to you to adopt. So
This
Is
one
that-
started like at 8 in the morning, got done at 5, and then we had council at 5:30.
yeah, it's that kind of day.
This one,
The finished product was not
It's not. a
adopted
timeline.
at 5:30 that night. It came back.
no, but I'm saying like that's how long
Yes.
we were
Yeah.
on this.
That was a marathon session.
Yeah,
It's not unusual for these strategic planning processes to unfold over several sessions as well.
Correct.
And I did confirm
Not
that the
big
fiber
figures.
business plan, only the fees were adopted by resolution, not the plan itself.
Okay, so.
It was
that's not-
informational only.
Which would answer Jason's question of it's not a master plan.
Correct.
Functionally, what's the difference? And so for the purposes of this strategic planning, can we rely on a business plan even though it hasn't been adopted, or is there some functional difference that we need to be aware of?
So the functional difference would be you're not going to build into your capital improvement plan projects that aren't identified on a master plan that is the result of your comprehensive planning effort. So we would go back to your your facilitator would help you go back to your strategic plan, your comprehensive plan, sorry, to look at how you address your desire as a city for fiber in the comprehensive plan. And then out of that would flow whether or not you think it's important or necessary to have a master plan related to fiber. I'm not sure, fiber isn't provided as a city service. So I think it's going to be a little different conversation about master planning because it's not a service you are providing. It's provided by other vendors.
Gotcha. I did see some things about fiber in our current.
And there might be
Okay.
some initiatives in there that you want to, that haven't been completed that you want to proceed with. Yeah,
Okay, so that clarifies, I think, that it doesn't need to be in a master plan to make it into the strategic plan.
correct.
Got it.
That is correct. But to understand where your current master plans are the foundation of starting your strategic planning effort.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions on sort of high level process and conversation? And do you all have your thinking brains on and your pens and your computers ready to take notes on all of the information that staff is going to give you?
Following up on Kyle's comment there, would the appropriate thing for something that's not an adopted master plan, the council wanted to put on a strategic plan? Step one, identify the strategic plan might be to develop a master plan to support this
Might be,
initiative or this
Might be,
effort.
yeah. If you work your way through how many of you have spent any time in the currently adopted strategic plan? Like detailed time? Okay.
So the years or like today?
At any time at all
Yeah.
in this current strategic plan, like
I read it
knowing
all
what it.
before budget last year.
Okay, great. So first and foremost in your strategic plan are those high level initiatives even important to you? Like, do the top level goals make sense? Is that what you want? That's where you're going to start. And then of those top 3 to 5 high level goals, what action items are going to feed supporting that goal? That's where you're going to start thinking. Any other questions? All right, I'm sure you will have more. Again, this is intended with staff to be interactive. So, Jason, do you want to go first?
Sure. So this, I will give the mayor credit here. He suggested that one way for department heads to approach this session today would be to prepare sort of a report or an update on the status of our master plans that are under the purview of our departments. So I've done that here. The document I'm handing you now includes several of the master plans on the handout that Fonda gave you. That goes down, Joel. With a very brief summary. And these out to department heads as well, just so they know what council's looking at.
While we're all waiting, next time we do one of these, can we schedule all these things at community hall? Because I would like the window to look. Especially on a day
I
like
think that's a
today.
Cheryl thing.
Okay.
The only thing with
I like the
community hall
park.
is we can't do it virtually.
Oh, virtually.
So you guys should probably join the Zoom here so I can share my screen so the public who's watching can see what we're looking at as well. While I sign into Zoom, you guys might want to just peruse through this. There's multiple plans and studies referenced here. For each one, I've got like a 1-paragraph summary of the purpose of that plan or study, why it matters for council priorities, and then some key policy questions. The color coding tells you the status. So the bullet points under status are the implementation sections of each of these plans. So some of them had like low priority, high priority, some had short-term, long-term, some had, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year future horizons. I went through and highlighted or color coded those showing green. These are what I consider implementation steps that are done or nearly done. Yellow is there has been some conversation at City Hall around those bullet points, or we are in the process of implementing them. And red are action items that we have really not begun work on at the city. So I encourage you to kind of, take some notes, highlight, circle, what are the priorities that are in red that you think should be moved up and put into the yellow category. So completed, in process, or not begun yet would be what that color coding really represents. So I'll let you take a minute to look through that, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. Haley, do I have a Zoom link for this? Thank you.
Thing is loud.
Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Turn that off. Okay, so for anybody watching on Zoom or YouTube, this is the document that council is looking at. It goes through a dozen or so plans, including the Sandpoint Housing and Economic Analysis, which this is not working well. Let me get out of this view. There we go. The Arts, Culture, Historic Preservation Master Plan, the Little Sand Creek Watershed Recreation Master Plan, which is actually a kind of a sub-plan of the Little Sand Creek Watershed Management Plan, which is more of a public works plan, but recreation is my division. We've got the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the Development Impact Fee Study and Capital Improvement Plan includes obviously CIP for parks. So I included what projects have we completed from that capital improvement plan, what is underway in yellow, and what have we really not started implementing in red. The downtown waterfront vision report, I did add a note there. That's not an adopted master plan. I only added it because there are some projects from that plan that have already been implemented or are in the process of being implemented, and there are some ideas that might inspire final SURA projects as we approach the sunsetting of SURA in 2029. We're going to be faced with what are we going to do with balance left over in urban renewal following the completion of phase 3 revitalization. That downtown visioning report, even though it wasn't adopted, did have a concept for Farmers Landing. You all have discussed Farmers Landing stormwater treatment from the dais at recent meetings, so I did want to put that in there because we have a few different concepts in our various plans for what might happen at Farmers Landing. From an elaborate park facility that goes out into the creek to simple improvements to the parking and vehicular access from the 2012 Downtown Streets Plan and Design Guide to the 2024 design report, which did have a concept that involved stormwater treatment at Farmers Landing as well. So I included it here just because I want to point out that there are some interesting design concepts in that design report that you may want to bring into one of our capital improvement plans if you do decide to move forward with Farmers Landing. The downtown Sandpoint Parking Management Plan that was adopted last June. We've already made some progress on implementing some of the goals and objectives from that. Of course, all the yellow, I think you're aware, we're going to have parking enforcement coming forward to a few upcoming council meeting. A lot of the things in yellow there are included in the scope of work for that contract that may be coming to you very shortly. The comp plan, I didn't really go through every goal and objective in there because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of goals and objectives, but I just gave a summary of kind of where we are in the CPD department when it comes to implementation of the comprehensive plan. And then two plans that we have, the oldest ones on this list, 2010, are the urban renewal plans. So I think everybody here is aware. Is everybody aware that urban renewal is going away in 3 years? It's been a 24-year effort, the urban renewal zones or districts that we have in Sandpoint. 2005 was when we initiated the urban renewal districts, the downtown district and the north district. The downtown district, we have seen phase 1 and 2 of downtown revitalization, and we are in the midst of phase 3 right now. There is going to be some balance left over. Exactly how much, we don't know the exact numbers right now, but there's as much as a couple $1 million left over after the completion of phase 3. So one, maybe Sarah can speak to this, but urban renewal dollars are not, they must be spent or else we lose them. There's a component to that. So an important question for council in the next 2 years, actually I'd say a much shorter horizon than that, is how are we going to spend the balances in our urban renewal agencies funds for both downtown and the north district? If 2029 comes and goes and we have not spent the money we have in those, we have to give lots of it back to the other taxing districts whose increment has been going into urban renewal for the last 24 years. Lots of it. About half the money will be given back to other taxing districts. And that will be infrastructure that we do not get to enjoy in Sandpoint if we do not spend it. So it's a use it or lose it type situation.
No balance right now.
In the North District, we're going to be at around $7.5 million, I believe, by the end of 2029. That's very large. the exact amount in the downtown district kind of depends on what the final price tag of revitalization phase 3 is, whether we get the LTAC grant that we've applied for First and Bridge Street. But from what I understand, between $2 and $3 million possibly. It all depends on those things. So it's a much smaller number than we have in the north. But that's just because of the fact that we haven't really done much in the north. I don't know if the new council members know, but for most of the last decade, we had been planning to implement the Great Northern Corridor improvements from Division up to Woodland. The estimated cost of that was around $26 million, and we had applied for a $22 million grant.
It was about, your
22.
numbers are.
22, 23, did not receive it. So without the grant support from the railway crossing elimination grants, we now have to make some choices. Do we want to implement small parts of what we had designed in terms of stormwater improvements possibly? Do we want to pivot that to other parts of northern districts, such as the intersection of Baldy and Boyer, which is the intersection, as far as I understand, that has the lowest level of service and as close to failing as any intersection on our street network. There's improvements around the airport that we could do. There's some simple road connectivity through city property that could yield large economic benefits. What's really important for council to understand, though, is that urban renewal, the reason for urban renewal's existence, it's actually presented here. This is right off of our urban renewal website, by the way, on our webpage on our website. So I like the vision statement here. The Sura board vision is to see Sandpoint as a flourishing community where our beautiful natural environment is combined with a healthy economy and strong infrastructure to provide the citizens a safe and desirable place to live. That's the vision statement. The mission is to leverage and promote public-private partnerships and investment within the renewal districts to provide strategic economic vitalization of our downtown, industrial, and commercial areas, and the enhancement of public art. A percentage of our downtown urban renewal increment goes into an art fund, which is what pays for our Silver Box Art project, which is what pays for sculptures downtown, other downtown art initiatives such as the Graffiti Alley.
Just
Yeah.
my math correctly, in order to really be able to spend those dollars by the end of 2029 to show the sort of urgency of this, those projects would need to be identified and committed to no later than the end of 2027.
If not this year.
If not, yeah, if not.
The sooner the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of understand, it doesn't mean we wait until the middle of 2029 and go, oh, we have $9 million to spend. Those projects will be identified, brought forward and committed to so that those dollars can be spent previous to the expiration of the urban.
Where are we on the airport projects and what those thoughts are?
There's no currently active well, just last week, if you follow the Urban Renewal Agency meeting, the Urban Renewal Board approved a $400,000 expenditure to extend sewer and water mains along East Mountain View Road. Is that correct?
Yep.
To support the Timberline helicopter. They've got like a 9-acre development going in there with new hangars. They've got creating upwards of 40 new jobs in Sandpoint. So there's an economic development benefit to that. There's potential additional benefits that could be realized from that if we were to connect East Mountain View to Airport Way to the south, which is currently a large piece of city-owned property. But one thing we learned from Timberline's presentation last week is that to move helicopters from their southern location to the new northern location, they have to drag them at 3 miles an hour out onto Boyer. They have to hire traffic control, close Boyer, and turn those helicopters around, go a block north, and then come all the way back. So one potential project for the urban north, and this would be only a fraction of the $7.5 million we have available, very relatively low cost project compared to what we have, would be to connect East Mountain View and Airport Way, which would enhance the economic value of the properties along that connection as well. And that's really what the point of urban renewal dollars are, so that public infrastructure investments increase the taxable valuation of private property where those investments take place. And in that way, when the urban renewal district sunsets in 2029, what we're left with is a higher tax base that the city as a whole can continue to experience the economic development benefits and the infrastructure benefits from the result of our investments. The basic rule is if a dollar spent doesn't enhance the value of private property, we should probably look at spending it somewhere else. And I know that sounds like, oh, we're giving things away to private developers, but that's literally the purpose of urban renewal, to invest in infrastructure that increases the value of private property, to stimulate private investment, to create jobs, to create economic vitality, to create a higher tax base. And that then reduces the tax burden on residents in Sandpoint as well.
So would that put it into a situation being more industrial or more suburban?
Well, you have to look at the North District versus the downtown. The North District's purpose is entirely around increasing the value of industrial and commercial properties. It's not residential. There's really very little residential area within our urban renewal district in the north. And downtown is around economic vitality and supporting the arts.
Most residential urban renewal development will be involving blight properties. So you see that along the Spokane River down in Kootenai County where the sawmills used to be. So those are, we call them urban renewal reallocation, and we call them urban renewal agencies and districts, but it's a reallocation of tax revenue is what it is. And so residential will generally be to change the landscape, the face and the value of what would have otherwise been a blight property, where commercial and industrial has a little different purpose. So.
Yes.
Is there a place I could look without you having to explain what type of projects we're allowed to use?
So for downtown, that's what we see on the screen here. This is what's identified in our downtown urban renewal plan. We can do streets, sidewalks, utilities, parking facilities, plazas and public buildings, downtown streets, right-of-way improvements and public parking improvements. They're all green because we've done all those things. We just used almost $500,000 of SURA dollars to redo our city parking lot. That's an allowed expenditure according to SURA. Things we haven't done downtown are participation agreements with private developers, site preparation, clearance, or redevelopment of underutilized properties. We've got a couple holes in the ground downtown. With cooperation and support from the property owners, we could do some public-private improvements to those properties to make them perhaps hybrid public spaces. Support for rehabilitation of existing downtown buildings. An example of that is we could use SURA dollars to establish a fund to allow property owners downtown to come get loans or grants in order to do historic preservation efforts on their buildings downtown. We have not done that before, but that is an eligible use.
Can you walk them through how the requests for these projects go to the SURA board and what that looks like?
Yeah, if council decides on a priority, it's actually the SURA board that approves the allocation of SURA dollars. So historically in Sandpoint, from what I understand, council asks and SURA says yes, evaluates, but usually doesn't push back. If there's a request from council or desired project from council, as long as it falls into one of these buckets, SURA board is likely to support it. Okay, we can do acquisition, disposition, or land assembly. That means we can buy property, or we can sell property and have the money go into SURA as well. If it's within the SURA district, we can cooperate with other
creative about it then. I mean, in a sense.
There's opportunity in the code.
Sure.
So you can't be too creative.
Well, I mean, just like, but we need to use this money, so we need to think of some
If your staff,
ways that.
if staff comes forward to council with some suggestions related to the use of SURA dollars, it will have been thoroughly vetted before it ever gets to you. And if you feel like you don't have a thorough enough explanation as to that vetting process, or you want to use SURA dollars somewhere else and have staff evaluate that, that can happen as well. But it will, before a request would come to you, it would have been vetted for its viability.
And so then you're asking us to also think of ways that we might be able to use this money.
That's a decision council should. I think seeking council direction that we can bring something to the SURA board in the next year, so that staff has time to work with, on RFPs, get contractors lined up. We got to have a design, engineering, all the work that needs to go into any sort of infrastructure improvement downtown or in the North District. There's a lot of work that's been done on the Great Northern Corridor, some of which might be able to be parlayed into a smaller scale improvement along Great Northern using SURA dollars.
So I think for your strategic planning purposes, as an example, an initiative could be realizing this is a 1-year window of time, not a 3 to 5, and that it would be identify projects appropriate for use of SURA dollars in order for them to be completed by 2029. That could be an initiative. It doesn't necessarily have to be, these are the projects. It would be in your strategic planning, recognizing this is a 1-year horizon. and it's got high priority, but it's important to you to identify those projects, and that gives staff direction, as Jason just indicated, then to find projects to bring to you for your consideration.
And those projects would hopefully come out of master plans that have already been developed.
Like that we want to get going.
Right.
Okay.
But just
Josh, you have
not
a
picking
question?
new things
Okay.
out of thin air.
For sure.
necessarily.
Yeah, I'm just getting caught up here.
Right, but we're asking all the questions.
Your questions are
Ask,
perfect.
ask
That's
all these questions. They're great questions.
what it's for.
Very good.
So in the, I can give it on downtown revitalization phase 3, we're targeting from Bridge and First to Lake Street. And preliminary engineering, that seems to be about a $4 million project. We've applied for a $1.8 million grant with LTAC. And then we've also applied for a $650,000 CBDG grant. The $650,000 grant, we believe that we're successful. We got an invitation to apply. So we knocked that $4 million price tag down to just call it 3.5 for easy math. And then if we're able to take another almost $2 million off of that, we're looking at a $2 million project instead of a $4 million project out of Sura. So we don't know if we're really going to be able to open up those dollars and have opportunities for additional spending, but we have a lot of options in this area. We've looked at improvements at Bridge and First and Gunnings Alley. We also, our Sura boundary goes further south, so we could continue improvements further south. There's many options, but it does look like we'll have some money in figuring out how we want to spend it, how best to spend it would be some good direction to get from council to allocate resources that way.
And this is the map on our GIS page that you can reference to see where we can spend these dollars. This is called the revenue allocation area. So projects within the orange areas are eligible for Sura spending, nothing outside of the orange areas. And if you go to the North District, it's purple. So purple is obviously much larger. We've got a much larger northern revenue allocation area. But for example, the intersection of Baldy and Boyer is right here. If council decided to implement a stoplight or a roundabout or something there, that can be used. And then the northern half of, one of the challenges with stormwater along Great Northern is that the southern half of Great Northern is not within our revenue allocation area. It turns out water flows south around here. So if we do decide to do stormwater improvements along Great Northern to increase the taxable valuation of the hundreds of acres of vacant industrial property we have there to try to stimulate some large employer to come in and develop a factory or some sort of industrial facility that could create jobs. And that's what we're really trying to do is how can we leave this purple area better than we found it before we created urban renewal 24 years ago. And that means leaving infrastructure in the ground that makes it attractive for private money to come in afterwards and create jobs, create tax revenue for the city. Because the more tax revenue comes from commercial and industrial land in Sandpoint, the less tax burden we place on our residents in Sandpoint. And there's a lot of math behind that. Sarah has a slide in her presentation that shows what that looks like. If we can increase taxable value of commercial industrial land by 30%, we see tax rates on residents go down by X%. And that property taxes, and that's huge. That's what we really want to do here is make Sandpoint more livable, create more high-paying jobs, and turn this from the urban renewal perspective. The west side of the airport here is what we would call like blighted land, right? It's not highly valuable industrial land because before you can even build look at what Amazon had to do, right? Amazon has endless deep pockets. That sort of private investment is very unusual where you get one of the largest corporations in the world come in and build something on property. But the amount of site prep they had to do, the amount of stormwater mitigation they had to do was extensive, probably millions of dollars just of site prep and stormwater mitigation. Anything the city can do within that purple area to reduce those private development costs using our urban renewal dollars will bring in the next employer and the next employer and increase taxable value and reduce taxes on residents of Sandpoint. And same thing with downtown. Anything we can do at the site of those holes in the ground at Farman's Landing. We want to help, reduce parking strain. We want to improve the waterfront here. Improving our waterfront will make the properties adjacent to the waterfront more attractive for private investment. And we can have another, nice project come into town that creates more commercial space and improves the character, the vitality of downtown in terms of employment, in terms of livelihood, people living downtown and so on.
Do we have anything for making plans for the Arlo's space?
That's a good question. I mean, we have
You do have to be really careful not to talk about
specific
Oh,
properties.
sorry.
But this one's interesting because our downtown design report did include a concept for that space. I don't know if I have it convenient.
Jason, I was that the Urban Renewal website has a completed projects list that hasn't been updated since 2016. Have there not been any urban renewal dollars spent?
No, we did phase 1 and 2 since then.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So we might want to take a look at an update of that completed projects list.
Josh, this was the watercolor concept from our downtown design report of a public-private partnership where there's a park with a commercial space.
Maybe pause for a second. Let him-
Yeah.
Because I think that was a thing just for staff. It's not like that we could access if we access.
So that would be right next to the bridge right there.
Yeah, this is looking from the Cedar Street Bridge.
Wow, because, so they can't build up, I guess. It doesn't make sense to build anything there, so build down into the space seems like the more appropriate approach.
Well, keep in mind, this is not city property. This is private property.
Okay.
At the time that the design report was being developed, my understanding is the private property owner expressed interest in partnering with the city on a potential, dedication of land if the city were to invest in it to make, but there's been no commitments, no conversations since then that I know of. But it's something that if council desired something like this or a version of a park like this, that's a conversation we could have with that property owner.
We could do $0 for that.
That's an interesting one. I think that might be just outside of the Sura revenue allocation area. So I don't think $0 can be used for that specific location. But there might be grants, waterway, land water conservation fund, for example. There's all sorts of park improvement grants we could pursue. Yeah.
Jason, why can't I get on what you had, the SPGIS that says I can't get on a secure site to look at your boundary map?
If you just Google Sandpoint public maps, there's a public version of it that you can just view right through the website.
Yeah, and what's you just not want the satellite in the background or?
I just wanted what he had. It was.
I can show you later how to because I had to change the background colors and stuff to make this visible. If you try to view this from the satellite view, you can hardly see anything.
Okay, but they just said I have no access
Okay.
to that SPGIS.
Okay, so are there any other questions from these plans? We kind of got stuck on urban renewal. I just had a final page here that had plans that are more in the purview of public works, but which have some adjacency to CPD. So I just have a little bullet point there explaining, there's some overlap here that where the urban forestry plan, the multimodal plan, and the streets and pavement plan might influence some of the work we do in CPD as well.
So one of the exercises you guys could do with this work product is go through the red and the yellow and score them. What's important to you to complete, or what's important to you to move up the list? I'd score 1 to 5, 1 least important, 5 most important, and give yourself some data of what is important to you to proceed with. If there's something missing, make a note of that as well. That may drive the need to update a master plan. We wouldn't know until we consolidated all of those and put them together.
Thanks, Fonda.
You mind if I jump in here and show my slides on this?
Go right ahead.
Out of context?
Good timing,
Okay.
good segue. I'll disconnect here.
All right, this one is, we kind
You
of,
make it full screen, Sarah.
all right, so, this one is just showing the, and this is just the northern, the downtown is very similar, of the percentage of what our revenues, what the city's, revenues would be under this, once it is dissolved and versus the other taxing districts. So if we have money left in here, as Jason alluded to, that the money would need to go back to these other taxing districts. And this is just the dollar amounts, that just wanted to show you the percentage of those.
So the city of Sandpoint would get 238,323. Is that what that's saying?
Yes, once it did, yes.
So you guys see that this
Yeah.
is, so in 2023, we brought in just under $500,000
Yeah.
that was added to the balance of the Urban Renewal North District. Last year was 500,000 and then, actually last year was closer to 600,000. These are great numbers, right? That means every year this is growing by $500,000 or more. We have to spend all that by 2029 or all the blue goes back to the taxing districts that we're not collecting. Since urban renewal was formed, that increment.
And then this one also is the, what Jason had talked about. This is the property taxes when you have market fluctuations. And so the very first column, the 50-50, is just for illustration purposes. If a residential was 50% and commercial was 50%, if you were to increase the commercial market value and the residential stays the same, you can see the red line in there, the change in residential property taxes goes down. And the reason for this is because the 3% that the state of Idaho has by state statutes, we can only increase by 3%. That is regardless of the valuation. So the valuation can be going like this all the time, but that 3% is applied over the valuation. So the more that the commercial goes up, and the residential either stays the same or goes down, that same property tax dollar amount is still spread across that. So this is just showing the differences in year to year too. Also, this can answer questions that you also get from constituents. Because why did mine go up by so much? Well, this could be a big reason of that. Also, is that if things are fluctuating from the commercial end of things, it could cause theirs to go up by 20%, where their neighbors only went up by, a smaller amount or maybe more amount.
But how much does the city control that?
Not at all. That's all
Right.
done by the assessor at the
Right.
county.
Well, what we can control
Well,
though,
okay.
is that investments we make with our, let's say we have $10 million between north and
Right.
downtown, investments we make over the next 3 years can either increase the orange as a percentage of our total valuation
We want that.
or keep it the same, or if we don't spend it wisely, we'd see residential property values increase as a percentage of our total valuation. And then we're in a situation like you see on the right there,
Yeah.
where if we're not wise stewards of that money, making investments that have real impacts on commercial and industrial property values, we're decreasing the affordability of living in Sandpoint for people who live here. But if we can increase the value of commercial and industrial properties with that $10 million, we can reduce the cost of living for regular people to live here. That's really important. Affordability is a big topic right now.
Yeah, and this would be a good opportunity to educate the public when we talk to people like, oh, why are you spending money there and not XYZ?
And some people aren't going to understand why the city would want to invest money in something that benefits a private developer.
Right.
Well, because those development dollars are what's going to make it more affordable for you to live here.
Just take the clip from this video and send it to them.
That's true. Put in AI with a better voice. But...
There you go.
You don't like my voice?
Shots that you're gonna show us, can you forward that to us so we can wrap that to?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, just in an email, that'd be great.
Stop sharing now.
Any questions from council? We didn't go through all the plans, obviously.
I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Awesome.
This is great.
It was a very helpful exercise for me, just to go through all those initiatives and implementation steps. You don't, when you get into the day-to-day at the city, you don't pause to look back at all the master plans all the time. This was a good exercise.
A few slides for Public Works if there's interest. I did not put together a handout for you, so I'll do the AI exercise summary and get that to you. But Haley, do you mind sending me something? Thanks. There are several of these lists that fall under Public Works, but I just pulled some slides together on the big ones, which is our drinking water, wastewater, and our streets, just to start the conversation.
Let us know too if you guys need a break. We tend to just power through.
Josh needs a spell check.
I thought all the red lines reminded me I was doing a good job. When I beat my wife in Scrabble, it is like World War III. I was like a terrible speller.
But these are what?
So when I win, I'm a very bad speller. When I win.
Yes, he is. Grab two. Utah, take it two.
My wife. And then there was this pause.
Well,
and I was like, oh my.
I would have been.
Oh, yes.
Just comes with her.
Thank you.
Take you down.
You still see it?
Move
What
those
year
legs.
at?
break?
Yeah, 2000.
Oh, yeah,
Really
of
grand.
course.
I had sandwiches.
I had
a sample. Yeah,
What's up?
I think they just graduated.
Oh, a long time since I've seen that movie.
That's my daughter's favorite. You don't want to.
Oh, really?
What is it?
Yeah.
And it's a
Great.
They rob burrito making abilities.
Oh, yeah.
But they keep-
That's what they should do.
Just the staff remember, your guys' mics are live.
Chasing.
Yeah, your mics
Just
are
remember
live.
your guys' mics are
Killing
live.
people?
So you heard me talk bad about you?
Which I don't mind,
Okay.
but just so you guys remember, those mics are live.
Yeah, if, in order to make it not live, if you don't know, you have button down and then it'll turn red. So if you want to have a private conversation with your neighbor, just hold the button down, it'll turn red and then,
Now everybody knows I'm a bad speller.
yes, everybody knows you're a bad speller and that Josh needs to go check.
Josh, just so you
And then I'm
know,
a bully.
And you're a bully.
Josh, all the
You're
two
an
people
editor.
that are gonna watch this know what that's.
Like figures.
Like, I want to change my vote.
Recording in progress.
How many people are watching live?
One.
Okay, one person.
That's why I gotta take off my hat.
The news meeting.
We're all human.
She probably knows. I don't know if she's allowed to tell us.
Are you allowed to tell us who is online?
No, don't tell us. Just keep it mysterious. More.
Yes.
No.
I want to know who cares.
And why?
Well, there we go.
It's just a fun graphic on why
Jason
we
didn't give us a
plan.
picture, so this
Is
is.
this the elephant in the room?
Could be. So I stole this
Appreciate it.
from, I'm sure you've seen this one before, but stole this from another planning effort, but this is why we plan. Everyone brings their perspectives. Planning is an opportunity for us to bring all of the stakeholders, all of their perspectives into the room, so we see the big picture and we know where we're going.
Can you pick which council member is which statement?
Actually, it's for everyone.
What's the elephant in the?
Pam is, it's a treat.
It's a treat.
Okay, a good trunk. I like it.
These are planning documents for Public Works. So for water, we serve, and this information you already know, but for the new council members, the benefit, and for maybe public online. Sandpoint serves the city limits, portions of Ponderay, Kootenai, unincorporated Bonner County, and we wholesale. We have 2 water treatment plants and 100 miles of pipeline. We have fire flow issues, so our master plans really speak to how we try to address these issues. And we have $30 million of improvements in our water system.
Needed,
So-
right?
You might have seen this map in my office, and the colors indicate the priority. So you can see in red would be a higher priority, yellow, medium, and these are because of aging infrastructure. You'll see a theme across all of our projects. So aging infrastructure is a big reason to why we're doing a lot of improvements. So about $30 million in our water system is needed. 20 million aging infrastructure, 7 million is fire flow, and 3 million is growth related. We also have in our northeastern area, we have fire flow issues out in Ponderay and Kootenai, and we have between $4 and $8 million of fire flow improvements identified out there. That of course is outside of Sandpoint city limits. So it's one big challenge that we have. About 1/3 of our improvements are related to a system that's outside of city limits. So it's just some of our challenges that we have.
What do the colors mean on the pipes here?
Oh, sorry, those are ranked based on the level of priority. So red is high priority, yellow is moderate, medium priority. Oh, that was fast for water, but I mean,
Do
there's
you have any questions about
a big
that?
picture on our water system.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess we have that whole other legal piece that I understood was is still playing out and moving forward, but we have not heard any updates on that in quite some time.
I think we still have some work to do in reorganizing the relationship between the city of Sandpoint as the service provider and other entities. So to the extent that you would like that to move up the priority list or be at the top of the priority list, that would be something to identify in your strategic planning efforts.
Right.
As
So
well as-
I understood that was in process with another firm that specialized in that.
No, the other firm that was hired to issue a legal opinion just simply issued just that, just a legal opinion that says you have a problem, which we know. And so I could be more in detail, but at the root of it, it was just you have a problem. We don't have, I mean, just for purposes of all of council, we don't have existing intergovernmental agreements between us and the other jurisdictions. We have a question regarding ownership of the infrastructure, which is where the root of issues come to you on who's responsible for the deficiencies that Holly just identified. And that is all work that needs to be done between the city of Sandpoint and the other jurisdictions, to include Ponderay, Kootenai, and unincorporated Bonner County.
And I can expand on that a little bit. So in the map on the screen here, you can see this is our water service boundary. So pink is Ponderay, green is Kootenai, and then unincorporated Bonner County is the darker purple. You can see that we serve outside of our city limits. We are city. Sandpoint Water is not a utility. So it's a bit awkward for us to be serving water outside of our city limits. You are the water board. And you're making decisions not just for Sandpoint City residents, although only Sandpoint City residents vote for you. You're making decisions for Ponderay, Kootenai, and portions of Bonner County in this area. And they do have, this is our hot spots. So this lights up all the areas where we have fire flow deficiencies. So you can see there's a big concentration of blue fire flow deficiencies out here. We have about between $4 and $8 million of improvements identified out there, and of a funding mechanism challenge on how do we fund those improvements as a city of Sandpoint.
Legal, feel free to step in anytime. What is our requirement, responsibility to service that? Can we just say, you know what, we don't want that responsibility to serve outside of the city limits? Say a new council decides, hey, it's not best interest for the city Sandpoint. Let's just end this now.
Do you remember the appeal that occurred? Might it be the end of 2024?
Yes.
I wrote a memo there on that.
Do I remember that?
I can
Not
forward you
fully.
that memo.
Okay, that's great.
In fact, the council wants on board.
Yeah, I'd like a reminder as well.
Thank you, Zach.
And
Thanks, Joel.
is that like Seven Sisters development going like kind of it's really across from Ponder Point, yeah?
On that western extent, Seven Sisters is around that area.
And it continues to grow, if I'm not. It's continuing to grow. There's a lot more development going on out there.
There's a lot of development. So we have an informal policy where if there is a development who wants water out in any of these pressure zones that are identified as a deficiency, we run a hydraulic model to see if our system has capacity. And if it has capacity, Sandpoint serves water, provided they're in our boundary. If the hydraulic model comes back to show that there's a deficiency, and most of the time that's a fire flow deficiency, we work with the developer to come up with other alternatives, but ultimately we opt not to provide water if we don't have the capacity.
And to follow up on Joel's question, the memorandum that Zach's going to send out will remind you and or provide you with sort of our legal analysis at the time of that appeal. That is a high level overview and some detail overview of the legal complexities with this issue. It would be really useful for us as staff to have some direction from council in this strategic planning exercise as to how important it is to you for us to proceed with expending resources to maybe find a resolution and a path forward. As you can imagine, it ends up being talked about only when, no pun intended, something's on fire, meaning a pending applicant. And dealing with this on an applicant by applicant basis is not a long-term option for resolution. And so in your exercise and as you think through what's important to you, it would be nice for us to get some direction on where this is on your priority list so that we know how much time and money to spend on finding a path forward.
Could you remind us, like, what's the benefit that we're getting out of this by serving everybody else?
We've saw benefits. If you look at our utility rates between water and sewer, you'll notice that our water rates are much lower. When we replaced our water treatment plant, it was a conscious effort to extend our customer base so that the improvement for that new water treatment plant was spread out over more users. That also gave us an opportunity for better grant funding. We're opening areas into Kootenai and Ponderay gave us a different demographic from a finance perspective. So we had loans that were available to us that if just for serving Sandpoint otherwise weren't. But historically, that's my understanding of why we expanded out into that area. Again, the wastewater treatment plant, we're restricted to our city limits, and you'll see our rates are much higher.
So those benefits are real longer benefits.
Well, we have our our water treatment plant is built, and we won't have another major update for another 15 years. So,
Do we have any debt on that? We're not paying up back a bond on the water treatment.
there's a bit left.
We have to,
We do.
Yep.
Do you know when that debt is repaid?
15 years, 20 years.
15 more years?
15, 20 years.
So in theory, if we were to, very extreme theory here, if we were to limit water service to just city limits, we'd be forced to raise rates to cover the ongoing cost of.
You mean just eliminate all those?
So I said extreme theory, right? If we were just to say, we're not serving water outside, if we cut our base of ratepayers by, I don't know what the population is of ratepayers outside of city limits, but say by 30%, you'd expect the rates for everybody remaining to go
You
up.
would have a reduction in cost for operations because you're not operating and serving that area, reduction in cost of water, but I guarantee that probably will not equal, it won't be a 1-for-1. So yes, I would agree that the most likely that the.
So that's a benefit that we enjoy, is that serving a larger ratepayer base keeps the rates relatively low for those within city limits. And yeah.
It's not new ones, not putting new ones, what happens?
So the other piece that's really important, and I'll just ask the question, Holly, but over the long term, paying for the infrastructure of the pipes in the road, we don't collect taxes from these other people to, at least not property type of taxes. We collect rates, but that, can you explain that a little bit? Just, it doesn't really balance out from my historical understanding, is that the cost of the infrastructure.
They're ratepayers just like anyone else in Sandpoint is a ratepayer, so they're paying the same utility bill.
Which is an enterprise fund too. I think we want to be real mindful of this little mini business.
Mm-hmm.
So no.
Separate from your
You
general.
don't use property taxes to repair water mains.
Right.
We use ratepayers and for expanding the network, we use new user facility fees, which they pay. They're paying us outside city limits.
I see the biggest issue as being when we go out for bond and we are asking our residential residents to go out for bond, but we're bonding and we are forcing the other residents to pay those bonds through those rates.
We don't have really a good, clean legal mechanism
Right,
to
Yeah, I
force
guess that's kind
the
of what I was
repayment
getting
of the
at.
bond outside of our boundaries.
Yep.
Do we know if they, since they're growing so quickly as well, are they planning on building a facility for themselves, or is that in their minds at all?
I don't think it was in their comp.
a lot of money.
They just adopted a comp plan. I don't believe that.
So they're dependent upon us for this particular thing, so can we expand then further into the area then? Like just get more customers?
For water, I don't think that we're looking at expansion. We do have we do have a lot of water capacity or volume of water. The lake provides an abundance of water. Our water treatment plant was designed to meet a 2040 scenario. So we have a lot of build out. But other than that, we're not looking to grow the water system and extend it further.
Well, and it has complexities because of its current deficiencies.
So yeah, the problem with expansion is the deficiencies are all in the north there. Expanding that just expands those deficiencies.
If you think of city infrastructure as assets, there's a flip side to that as well. They're also liabilities. So every pipe we put in the ground 25 years ago in order to serve water outside of city limits now needs, not every pipe. Every one of those pipes will eventually need replacement. At that time, the price tag of that infrastructure comes back to bite us. And if we haven't planned over the 25 to 50-year horizon to replace that infrastructure, we're stuck with $8 million price tags for infrastructure that is not even inside our city limits.
That's the point I was trying to make.
With the legal question of how does it get paid if you go out for a bond? Who pays it?
And would Sandpoint voters ever vote to support a bond to replace infrastructure in Kootenai?
And I think the other piece that hasn't directly been addressed as well is that we don't have any jurisdiction there to, like, our fire chief can't tell them what their fire standards need to be, and our planners can't tell them what type of development to build. And so perhaps what Deb was getting at is that they can build really sprawling developments that per unit need a lot more pipe and therefore cost a lot more to the system, yet they're paying the same rates as our dense development here, which is much more affordable on a per unit basis. And so that's another way that it could be more expensive out there, and we don't really have any mechanism to recoup that expense.
And to piggyback on that a little bit, I was alluding earlier, there are not currently intergovernmental agreements between the city of Sandpoint and the other entities. Those intergovernmental agreements would be the platform for what say do we have in their development, and those were never finalized.
And then the last option that I don't think we've touched on is we do have neighbors that buy wholesale from us. They're just water districts.
Right.
So that is one way that you could potentially approach this, is that everybody outside the city limits creates their own water district and just buys water from us wholesale. And then they're responsible for the pipes.
There's a lot of options. I think if we identify this as a strategic priority, how we're operating today is not functioning very well. So,
Be good to identify that. Thank you.
All right. Moving right along.
wastewater, and I guess for wastewater, we serve the city of Sandpoint, our city limits primarily. We have one wastewater treatment plant, about 50 miles of sewer pipe, 19 lift stations. That's a lot of lift stations for our area. So it's a big maintenance burden for our crews. And here are a list of our planning documents that we work off of. The big planning documents that are our master plans are our wastewater treatment plant facility plan and our collection plan. These look at performance over the next 20 years. Again, looking at condition assessments, capacity over 20 years, and growth over 40 years. So that collection system plan really looked far out, big picture and far out. When we looked at growth at the times that we brought these plans, we had the ACI. So one thing to keep in mind, I don't know if I have a map of it. This gray area was the area of city impact. 6 months ago, it was much larger, this whole gray area, and was reduced almost to our city limits. So we might be rethinking our growth. So just know that in the back of your head, our planning for our wastewater and our water system is really conservative because we were planning on some pretty major expansion into that area that we're no longer thinking about. So our challenges in wastewater are inflow and filtration, aging infrastructure, and growth. With the wastewater treatment, we also have an opportunity for regional customers. This is something that DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, really encourages. They like to see regionalization of wastewater treatment plants, really any facility. So they really encourage any system to broaden. There's some economy of scale. So when we looked at our planning, we're considering taking on customers like Schweitzer or KPSD. So there's even been conversations about Segel. So just understand when you open up these documents, there's some regionalization considerations in there.
That would create the same problem that we have with the water.
Well, if it's
If
done
we don't have a
properly.
good, we don't have a good intergovernmental.
There's, we could have something, a mechanism to allow it without interagency agreements. That's our challenge right now, so we can go, but we can plan for it.
Couldn't say, just.
Why does DEQ encourage that?
Not to speak for them, but I would suspect it might have to do with economy of scale and, they have to regulate all of these entities. And so if there are less facilities,
One
there's
centralization.
one less thing for them to be working on. From an environmental perspective too, having so many places, it's more construction, more building, more materials.
But the burden is on us.
So, just to be clear on the regionalization piece, that's why the Baldy property was bought originally, because there was discussion of regionalization, which fell apart, which then moved us back to the most economical way was to stay on the current site where we're at. And then, as far as I understood, the ball had moved far enough forward that we really, at this point, don't have regionalization opportunities for the wastewater treatment plant. That doesn't mean there couldn't be more built at a later date, I guess is maybe what you're getting at, but we've been through this whole, we're gonna regionalize, talks fell through. How can we do it? We're not gonna regionalize. Maybe there was another talk that didn't happen. We had to move forward. We couldn't wait on it. Is that?
That was a good summary. I would just add, so our wastewater treatment plant, we're moving forward. But we've been having conversations for 20 years about regionalization, and they've gone nowhere. And so Sandpoint decided we just need to replace our plant. We can't wait anymore. All that said, in the future, once we do have this plant, there are plans in our collection system and our facility plan that could accommodate that growth. So if there's some regional partner, they would be responsible for building a transmission line, for example, or adding a treatment train to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
So we haven't completely shut the door, but as far as partnering and that planning for it now, that's not happened. Planning for the construction of it now has not happened, but planning for it in a document as far as text and theories, concepts have been developed.
Okay, all right, yeah. So leaving the door open but not building any. Okay. Just want to make sure I was clear on that. I was like, what?
And when we say plans, it means many things. So we have our master plans, concept level, and then we develop construction drawings, which are also called plans.
Right,
So
our
it does
construction
get-
drawings are just simply for Sam.
Yes. Our challenges are inflow and infiltration. We have stormwater and groundwater that enter our sewer collection facility and go to our wastewater treatment plant where we see flows 10 times the average day during wet weather events. We have aging infrastructure. Some of our pipes are from the 1900, so over 100 years old. Our big capital improvements. So the wastewater treatment plant is our #1 capital improvement. It's a $130 million project. We have Keller and Associates working on a preliminary engineering report that picked up that 2019 facility plan and developed it further. Currently, we are in the process of finalizing that plan. We're having conversations with DEQ. DEQ actually sent an email about 3 weeks ago to me saying, hey, we understand you have challenges with inflow and infiltration. How can we help? And it was really, how can we help other than giving you money? So we're really looking at our permit and seeing how they can help us and looking at what our discharge permit looks like. So we haven't had that meeting with DEQ just yet. Keller is working on some alternatives, but understand that kind of put it's a really good effort, but it's kind of taken Keller's efforts from that preliminary engineering report to having this deep dive conversation with DEQ to make sure that If there are any opportunities for cost savings, we're capturing them now instead of after the fact. Our collection system improvements, we have $46 million of lift stations, sewer mains. I mentioned earlier that our growth assumptions have changed, so you'll notice that there's $41 million of, and that can't be 41. I think I've got a math error here. I'll reconcile that, but over $20 million of growth related improvements. If we eliminate all of that gray ACI and we no longer need to plan for growth out there, we can adjust, but.
From what I understood, the county eliminated that for us, correct? Because unless we're gonna build on it in 5 years, then we can't identify it. And from what I understood is that came before us and we.
That's not exactly how it happened. The state statute says that it needs to be very likely to be annexed in 5 years. So we presented an initial proposal to the county rejected it. We took it back with the county to rejection and presented this subsequent proposal, which would essentially reduce it. So, I mean.
So we still do have some CI.
Very little.
I mean, I think it's just the area right there underneath the train bridge on Pine Street. I don't know, what else is there? It's very. It's
Right, so it's not even this that I'm seeing.
Oh, almost all the gray was eliminated, do you know?
Right, that's what you're saying. Almost all that gray was eliminated.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's-
The picture's not accurate. That's all I need to know.
It was part of our planning effort. So just so that council is aware, when we did our collection system plan, the ACI existed. It was this really large gray area, and we have planned for development and a lot of development and growth into that area. So if we've changed course and no longer plan to develop this gray area, we can change our plan, but that might be some clarity that we might need on what is our plan for this. You know, our ACI is eliminated. Does that mean we're not planning to grow out here?
So that just goes back to the question to all of you in the strategic planning. How important is it to you and on what priority would you put likely redoing the wastewater CIP as well as master planning, given the reduction in the area of impact? Did I say that right, Holly?
Yes. And really all of our documents prior to the ACI being on.
Has there been any discussions with the county related to growth in that area that haven't been reported on in the news?
You might recall that during the area of impact discussions with the county, we had proposed, actually, this is not our previous area of impact. The previous area of impact is about 3 times as large as that gray area. It extends way up onto the east side of Baldy and into the Schweitzer lower basin. This is like a potential future growth area envisioned with the wastewater infrastructure into our area of impact, but that's not the entire former area of impact. The current area of impact is now city limits. So the pushback from the county was that the state law around area of city impact says it has to be
Reasonably likely to
be annexed within the next 5 years, or very likely to be annexed within the next 5 years. So this may be a 20 or 50-year plan, but we were not very likely to annex this property within the next 5 years. Also, the public pushback against even our proposed reduced ACI boundary was large. Many members of the public came to the county commissioner meeting that Bill and I presented at, actually just I presented at, and opposed even our shrunken area of impact. So the county commissioners said, come back to us with what you can say is highly likely to be annexed within the next 5 years. And that was nothing. Unless we get a request from a property owner for annexation, I've not heard of any, we don't have a strategic plan that says the city is going to initiate annexation within the next 5 years.
Well, and for clarity, for those of you that were here at the time this came forward for public hearing, you'll remember, those of you that weren't, this is educational. The annexation statute also changed at the same time the area of impact statute changed in Idaho code. And there's a very limited opportunity for cities to be the initiator of an annexation.
probably 98% of all annexations are going to be applicant driven, property owner driven. So there was a real disconnect in the interpretation by the county of the very likely to be annexed when we have no control over what's going to be annexed. It's all driven by the property owner. So to impose on us a measurable that says you can only have an area of impact for areas that are very likely to be annexed, which is completely out of our control, was completely a disconnect, which was why council agreed just to have 0 area of impact for now. We'll evaluate this on a property by property basis as it comes forward. But as Holly's indicated, it creates a very difficult long-range planning problem. That we have to identify our area of impact for long-range planning, but we don't have an area of impact, what do we do for long-range planning? And so I think cities across the state are all grappling with this. Our Bonner County was not the only county that reacted this way. Cooley County commissioners did the same thing. I could go through a whole explanation of what happened down there, but this happened across the state. And so a lot of cities are grappling with what to do with long-range planning outside of the jurisdictional limits, given what happened with the area of impact conversations. So. But the annexation statute change at the same time as the area of impact statute change was real critical, and that annexation piece was kind of missed. We kept bringing it into the public record so the public record would be clear, but it's still problematic in people's understanding of what can be annexed, when can things be annexed, and who initiates it.
If you are interested, there's a lot of thoughts around. Could you go back to that map, Holly? One argument that we discussed internally around why we wanted to keep that in our area of impact and possibly pursue annexation or welcome annexation is we don't control the zoning in this area at all. The county controls the zoning in this area. And the county says that if you have water or sewer, you can go down to 1 acre lots. If you have both, you can go down to 1/4 acre lots. Our own rural residential 2 zone says minimum lot size is 2 acres. If this were annexed to the city of Sandpoint and we could control the zoning there, we could mitigate or minimize the amount of densification that occurs in this rural area. Right now, under the county, ironically, yeah, with the community septic system and water, which most of that area is on Syringa water, as small as 1/4 acre lots can be provided.
And that piece was also removed from state code. So we used to have what available to us an exclusive tier area of impact. An exclusive tier was a narrower portion, right, contiguous to your boundaries, where if somebody was going to develop in that area, they came to the city and they would develop out pursuant to our standards. All of that has been eliminated. So what Jason's talking about was just amplified. Our 0 control immediately outside of our boundaries was amplified with all of these changes.
And what is our responsibility as the city? How, from a legal perspective, can we deny annexation? If they're requesting to be annexed, and we say, hey, that's not going to be beneficial for what we think.
You can deny annexation. It's not that it's a different analysis, as you can imagine. It's not a matter of right application. Matter of fact, some would argue it's a legislative decision, not a quasi judicial. We all debate that, but we would give you the elements that you need to analyze in considering the annexation, and you could deny it if an application came forward. Oftentimes what we'll do if there's a controversial annexation application, we'd have the applicant come before you previous to applying and just get an idea from you of what your thoughts are on whether or not. And you would be looking at, are we already providing services there? Do they already receive our water? Are they already next to a sewer main where they could easily hook up? Or is police already responding in a relatively close area? Has fire, is it close to fire being able to respond? You would look at, are we already providing services, or are services easily provided there such that bringing that tax base into the city jurisdiction makes sense? So those are just some of the things you would be evaluating if there was an annexation request. But again, we would likely bring it to you as a discussion item first before we had the applicant jump through the hoops of making the formal.
So the other issue with that is if they're not, if their infrastructure isn't to our code.
That would be an analysis point, absolutely. And staff would give you an overview factually of what's currently in existence. You just hit exactly on the head of the downside of the state code removing our ability to have a say in planning rights right outside of our borders, because they're gonna build to county standards that may or may not align with us. It may eliminate the city's opportunity for growth and or the applicants, the property owners' opportunity to be in the city. So as people, as you educate your public and your constituents and people that talk to you, if you're communicating with a landowner who's contiguous to our borders and they're exploring whether or not they want to annex or whether or not they want to stay in the county, those are things to bring up. Just tell them, you may want to look at what standards you built out to, because it may prohibit your ability to annex in the future, given where we're at.
Is this discussions we can have with the commissioners? About
There would be a legal mechanism available for an intergovernmental agreement to have some sort of baseline agreement regarding build out, design, all of that. But I don't think that's been explored. I guess it would be in this exercise for you guys to tell us whether or not that's a high priority for a staff project.
And the county is undergoing a comprehensive plan update right now, right?
I believe so.
So this might be a good opportunity to have that discussion before they cement that.
And they have no obligation to enter into an intergovernmental agreement. Let's be real clear. It would simply be a, cross borders, good neighbor agreement.
Yeah, so I guess that was my question. Has there been any discussions that the news hasn't reported on that we wouldn't be aware of?
I don't know,
So
Jason.
we have no indication whether the county is gonna pick up any of this infrastructure development, or they're just gonna let it grow organically.
I think their proposed keeps all this suburban, which is, no change from the status quo as far as what's allowed for development. But they don't have anything close to what we do in terms of street standards or infrastructure standards.
Right.
And this is probably a good time, since you just brought that up and some of you are pretty active. If you decide as an individual person to go provide public comment at any of the public hearings related to the county's comprehensive plan, you cannot speak as a city council member. You cannot speak on behalf of the city. None of you electeds, and the mayor's not here, but I'll reiterate this to him. An elected can't speak on behalf of the city unless you had a public discussion and you have agreed that one of you is a representative speaking a particular message. So make sure if you go and give any testimony, and this applies to any of the legislative sessions that are going on now, you are an individual, and you can't just say I'm an individual. You have to go on to say, I am not speaking as a council member of the city of Sandpoint. I think now it's just it's not regarding strategic planning, but you brought it up. So it's a good time to just remind everybody in an educational concept.
Short-term.
So
residents have rights.
yes, yeah, you have a First Amendment right to speak as an individual, absolutely. It's just that elected position that everybody knows you're elected to, you need to intentionally say, I'm not speaking on behalf of the city, I'm not speaking as a council member.
I just did that.
Is that true for staff as well?
They're
Yes,
speaking in their individual capacity, yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll reminder to staff as well.
If you say that I'm speaking on as a mental health therapist and a resident, is that enough?
No, you need to say, I am not speaking as a Sandpoint City Council member.
Because it seems like if you mention the city council thing, then you're kind of already mentioning it, right? Like
Well,
you're in.
It's a
No,
little bit-
you have to
it's a little
state
bit
it on
like,
record.
Don't think about elephants.
right.
But the other side of the coin is everybody knows you're an elected official. So if you just get up and say, I'm person A, I'm an elected official, or you don't even say you're an elected official, no one's gonna know. So it does take the affirmative disclaimer. But you're right, it does cause that issue where
I wrote the city of Dover an email saying I want the Pine Street Woods to do a thing. I didn't mention anything about city council.
In the future, just say,
Okay.
for clarity, I'm speaking in my individual capacity.
and it just protects.
Yes.
Okay.
Just go that extra mile.
Liability for city kind of stuff.
Sure.
Sorry, that was kind of a rabbit trail. I just saw.
But it's
No,
good
but
to
it's
know.
it's appropriate right now, for sure.
Because
Just one
I
last
talk to
question.
commissioners at times, you rub shoulders when you're out and about.
Yes.
So
Yeah, all of you have a First Amendment right to speak, to have an opinion, to be an individual, to be a resident, to be a citizen, all the things. You just have this heightened elected position, so you have to affirmatively denounce that you're not speaking as an elected. and that your message is not representation of the message of the city.
Just one last question on the slide before we move on. So these green lines, if they were to be built in the future, it would most likely, and this is totally hypothetical, would most likely be Syringa turning into a water and sewer district and building it themselves, or North Side turning into a water and sewer district and building it themselves, not Sandpoint?
No, for this planning effort, it was looking at this being Sandpoint sewer collections out into what at that time, 20, 40 years in the future would be Sandpoint city limits expanded.
Right, I'm saying now that we know the ACI is gone and the residents in that area do not want to be annexed, that's probably how we would see that play out. I know that that's a very hypothetical question, but
I think it's an unknown.
yeah, okay.
That's what I was gonna say. I think for the strategic planning purposes, the question is, do you want to maintain the current planning knowing the change in the landscape? Or do you want to update the planning to reflect your reduced potential area of impact or zero area of impact? That's question one. Question two, then, if you hypothetically decided to keep this planning, it would have to be identified at any landowner's application that there's just vague planning into that area. It would be one of those really strict evaluation points. As Holly indicated, just because this planning effort was undertaken and exists today, doesn't mean there'd be any green lines put out there at all at any point. It was designed as required to look 40 years from now, and now 40 years from now looks very different based on the statutory change and the legislative direction. So the question for your strategic planning isn't what happens to the green lines, it's do we want to take another look at long range planning in light of the current landscape to potentially have an alteration to what those green lines look like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great, thanks.
So the wastewater treatment plant would be less expensive if we do not include those.
Oh, you gotta build it out though.
No, yeah, our wastewater treatment plant, we're looking to build for today plus 20 years. Those green lines are between 20 and 40 years
Right.
out. So your treatment process that we're building today is not impacted by.
Those are apples and oranges.
Okay. Fruit bowl. A fruit bowl.
It's a good question.
Right?
But Pam, were you asking if we had more ratepayers out in what is now rural areas, would that make it cheaper?
No, I'm
for people?
asking if we did not put those.
Oh, I see.
Out
Would we
there.
be able to
Lower
build
the
a smaller
cost.
plant today? So Holly answered that.
Right.
Gotcha.
So the capacity projection for the build out is 20 years. Those lines are 40, so they're
Right.
two separate.
Right.
Do you guys want to take a break before we go into streets?
Yeah, let's take a little body break.
Right?
Holly,
Thank you, madam.
Not bad.
Okay, so
I understand. Is that you?
is it not gonna stay recorded?
Why do you get the coffee chair?
Okay, because we're going to.
I love it for you.
We're gonna let public so please speak to you first before we go into streets so that you can get them out of here and going to keep the city safe.
They're doing their job.
So Kevin, you can go first.
Okay, well, so I think there's this kind of the overarching public safety is that, and what me and Corey were just talking about is that we're basically here to support the mission and the goals of the strategic plan and the master plan. That's kind of it's kind of what we do. And on the fire side, we've got a few things that we're looking at for the next 3 to 5 years. One is we need to take a look at our apparatus replacement schedule. The other one is our current staffing, both career and volunteer, because we are trying to get the volunteer program ramped up and off the ground. And one of the other things that we look at that we really need, and we're talking about kind of at a high level right now, is a training facility. The first thing we need to look at is where we would put it. It's always cheaper to put it somewhere where you already own the land rather than trying to go out and buy land. Kind of working towards the possibility of putting it up on Woodland near the tank facility up there. There's property up there. It should be big enough. I know Holly has a project, the filter project that she's gonna be looking at doing up there in the next couple of years. So that kind of would all tie together, the access and everything else. So just trying to save dollars and put it somewhere where it's not gonna cost an arm and a leg. And we're also gonna try to, instead of buying a facility, our aim is to actually build it ourselves so we could do it at a fraction of the cost. Whereas we had talked earlier, the one container style training facility, very, very small, is upwards of $600,000. And I think we can get whatever we need up there and all the access and everything else for around 100. So trying to do it ourselves and, be responsible with the money. So that's just kind of our take, the 3 high level things that we're working on. Currently in our department strategic plan, we're going through that process right now. So these are the things that are kind of standing out on our side. So.
And just to complement that, with fire coming back under the umbrella of the city just recently, I mean, it feels like a long time ago, but really it's pretty recent. They're working on their own internal strategic plan, as Gavin indicated, that then would come to you for your review. But in some of these more technical, as if streets and water and sewer isn't technical, but in the public safety realm, they have quite a bit of autonomy with regards to their own internal strategic planning that, yes, fits into your overall initiatives and goals, but we're very reliant on what they put forth as what the needs are for serving the safety of the public. So one of the requests of the last council, and even if you notice, the last strategic plan was completed before the dissolution of the JPA even. So a lot of work has been done on fire since the last strategic plan. And I think you'll be pleased with what they bring forward that'll fit into the overarching strategic planning for the city.
Excellent.
And I kind of mirror some of that same ideologies. So when you look at the strategic plan, the police department doesn't have its own specific strategic plan. I really look at more as we're a help to the rest of them. And when you look through the adopted strategic plan we have, you'll see throughout those different lines where the police department is somewhat attached to those. We talk about community oriented policing. There's call loads, call volumes, how to reduce officers' time to improve it so we can go do other activities. So when you look through that, a lot of the strategic plan that was adopted has a nexus or a link to the police department and some of those goals and objectives. Kind of with the fire department, we have our own ultimate goals and objectives. Not really in a strategic plan. I really look at us as some of that support role to what the council and some of the other departments are doing and how can we help benefit them. But when you read that, there are some areas in here that kind of call some specifics for us. But
is there any direction that you guys need right now from council in moving your departments forward? Or do you feel like you have pretty clear objectives and goals?
I think we're as far as we're on the far side, we're kind of, as we're going through the strategic planning process, we're actually getting those goals and objectives kind of flushed out. And that's what it's all about. And then that's what we would, ultimately bring to council and say, hey, this is what we want to do. And this is where we would like your support and helping us get there. So.
I would go, if you read the budget narrative that I submitted last year, at the beginning of all of our budget narratives, we set goals for the year for the police department. And so at the beginning of my narrative, you'll see 3 different areas with specific goals for the police department, which I don't have in front of me, but you can see them, which kind of caters along with hopefully tying into the direction the police department's going.
Do you guys have any comment on sort of the inner workings of the department heads as a whole, with you kind of having unique goals? Is there any direction or assistance council could give with regards to that piece?
I don't know what direction you're going. We say to defense attorneys. That's what we say to defense attorneys. I'm not sure what you want me to say.
That's why I just said no.
No.
My patrolman hat went on when I'm sitting on the stand. What does the defense attorney want me to say? As you guys look at this, Jason talked a little bit earlier about the strategic plan. from my perspective, and this will just be my 2 cents as you guys go through it and you create, redo, add to, delete, whatever you want to do with this plan. Keep it somewhat simple so that we can follow it. Sometimes they get to be really thick, really weedy. We don't know which kind of direct, from a department head's perspective, what page we're on, what direction we're going. So as you look at this, and I was rereading it in this week, and I read it a couple times thinking to myself, wow, we created a lot to accomplish. And some of that stuff is stuff I think staff could accomplish. Some of this stuff I don't think we ever will accomplish. So really, when you look at it, my advice would be is having that short-term goal of what do we want to accomplish in the next year? What do you want to accomplish in the next 2 or 3 years? And what do you want to accomplish in 5 years? And make them really attainable, and not huge things that we can accomplish. So that would be from a department head stance as we look at those. That would be my suggestion to the council is really be cautious and help keep them clear and precise.
And I think that just to add to it, I'm sorry.
No, I got him fired down.
I'm sorry, I just want to, well, just to add to what Corey was saying, yes, make them attainable, but I think that there needs to be like a formalized review. Like a maybe on an annual basis where you just get together and we just go through the strategic plan and some things, because it's easy to make it and it just goes, sits and collects dust on a shelf. But if we're reviewing it more on, more of a scheduled format, then it's easier to keep up with it. And I mean, it's just because it's the next 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years, doesn't mean it still can't be a dynamic document where we can add to it and take away from it and just kind of do our edits as we go. So, I mean, to me, that's what kind of makes a successful one is as long as you're reviewing it for updates, that works a lot.
Like to suggest with my council backing me that when we have our actual strategic planning meeting that we put Corey in front of, is that attainable? Is that attainable? Is that attainable in a year? Is that attainable in 5 years? Because if that's like your little checks and balance, you can, I think, help us keep our strategic plan on better track and make it way more effective for the staff and way more supportive of what the council needs are. But if you would like.
No, I have no problem doing that.
I second that.
You suggesting he be the facilitator?
No.
Because Corey's been.
The bad guy. Someone's got to be the no guy.
I think that's attainable. It's a great idea because most all of our ideas are great ideas, but some of them are attainable in 20 years. Some of them are maybe never attainable, and some of them are low hanging fruit that we really can't get in a year. So the facilitator is going to be doing a lot of other things, but
Just kidding.
No, and I think that goes back when I first took over the chief a few years ago. One of the questions every time we wanted to pass the new city ordinance from the law enforcement side was, is this something that the police department's going to enforce? And we would come out and say, absolutely, or we'd say, this is no. And it was great advice to the council because then they was able to make those decisions on which direction they really wanted to go. Are we just creating fluff and work that we're not going to accomplish? Or are we actually doing something that makes a difference? And so I think it's a fantastic advice is to be able to hold us accountable with that.
Well, and I think council may not even really truly comprehend how much cross-department collaboration and effort is required for most of the actions that come forward. I mean, just basic level things like a subdivision requires fire input for turnarounds and access. And street signs require police involvement. Do they go here? Do they not? Is it enforceable? Is it not? Transportation corridors require police involvement. I mean, I don't know that there's unless you watch the machine run, and most of you haven't had the benefit of doing that, you unfortunately get put in a really difficult situation of getting things last minute on the dais. And a lot of work has gone into it before it got to you. There's been a tremendous amount of cross-department collaboration to bring it to you. And so I hope that even coming out of today, there's even a more robust understanding of the need for that cross-department collaboration. Otherwise things fall through. And then really thinking towards mechanically, how does that happen and who's pulling all of that together? Thank you.
I'm going to go hide in the back unless there's more questions.
Thank you, sir, for that.
You're supposed to go out before.
We'll call you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
There we go.
Back.
Sandpoint streets. Our our guiding planning document for streets is our multimodal transportation plan. This is a 20-year plan. It looks at safety, connectivity, mobility for all users, focusing on pedestrians, bicycles, motorists, and transit riders. Key challenges that plan brings forward are growth. So this plan was adopted before our 2024 comp plan was adopted. So these great growth projections might be a little different than what we're planning for today. But they estimated 16,000 population by 2040. The other challenge that it identifies is aging infrastructure. So our roadways, our sidewalk, that says bridges. We have one bridge, increasing repairs and costs to keep up. Vision and goals of the plan are listed there for you to read. The plan also took into consideration that we have Spot Bus as a free transit that serves the broader Sandpoint area. And then our rail, we have 2 rails through Sandpoint, 60 freight and passenger trains daily. So BNSF tracks, Union Pacific, and Amtrak. These are the plans that the multimodal transportation plan pulled forward. So we've got the 2008 urban area transportation plan. Prior to this multimodal, the 2008 plan was the city's transportation plan. The urban area transportation plan is a regional plan with participation from Bonner County, Kootenai, Pend Oreille, Independent Highway District. That group got together and developed a plan for the region. So for many years, that was Sandpoint's transportation plan until the multimodal plan took that and really updated it to be Sandpoint specific. What it looked at primarily was capital improvement projects. It did not get into standards. So as far as what roads we're building today, the street section, how wide our sidewalk is, how wide our road is, we looked to our 2008 urban area transportation plan. The 2012 street design guide, we brought that forward in the multimodal transportation plan for the downtown area and Superior intersection concepts. It also includes a pavement condition assessment. This is a plan that we update. We should update it at least every 5 to 8 years, where we go out and we actually look at the condition of our roads, and that improves our road maintenance projects. One of the outcomes of that assessment identified that our backlog on our streets is over double the national average. A backlog is a deferred road that needs to be, the maintenance has been deferred so long that it needs to be fully reconstructed. So that's what backlog is. So we have a double the national average of streets that need to be reconstructed and we can no longer maintain. It also identified that the streets that we can maintain and don't need to reconstruct, it recommends putting about $1 million each year just to maintain the existing condition of our streets. So not improving the condition, maintaining the existing. So we've got a big deferred maintenance issue identified there. But there's also a highway 200 corridor study. So you'll see some of these capital improvement projects have ITD as kind of a partner and certainly a stakeholder.
I'm sorry, when was that last? Oh, there was a pavement study done. When was that last one?
I think it's on your list.
Yeah, I want to say 2018 by memory.
Oh, it's not.
Didn't say pavement.
Seems like it.
It's more recent than 2018.
Recently, about 2020.
There's a streets and pavement capital improvement plan from 2020. It's number 8 on your list.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, is that the one where they went out and did all the assessment?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what's written on the paper is the formal title. So
Okay.
apologies that
That's right.
deviated from that. The multimodal transportation plan capital improvement list. So these are the projects identified in the next 20 years. $100 million worth of projects.
You two aren't gonna be allowed to sit together anymore.
So of our $100 million capital improvements identified in the next 20 years in the multimodal transportation plan, we've got pedestrian and bicycle priority network. This kind of establishes where we should be maintaining sidewalk, closing any gaps, improving any networks to key destinations. So those are two planning maps that we use as guidance. It also identifies corridor projects, division corridors, one major project where we seek to improve Division Avenue from the highway to Baldy. It's about $10 million full street reconstruction. Great Northern Road is a project that was identified. We've recently progressed that project and have better updates in 2024, around a $20 million project to reconstruct Great Northern Road from Baldy to Woodland. Primary reason for that is it is a truck route. We see a lot of truck traffic, and it was never built to any sort of road standards. So we have continual maintenance, and it's really a burden. So we are often repairing all the potholes in that road. Baldy Mountain Extension is another large corridor project in the couplet, and I can pull these up if you have questions, but understand that there are big corridor projects in the tens of millions of dollars. We also have the couplet. This was also known as the curve. This is ITD's improvement project that Sandpoint sought to improve and bring forward to improve the highway that we have going through our town. So for maybe the public who's not aware, Highway 2 and 5th Avenue is actually owned by ITD, and it is challenging to have a highway through the middle of your town. So we've come up with a plan to kind of resolve that. The previous mayor, Mayor Rongstad, put that project on hold, so staff is not actively working on that project. The plan also includes all sorts of highway management on US 2. So you'll see some approach narrowing and consolidation. There are some east-west connectivity improvements that Sandpoint has completed part of. And the plan also recommends that we update our truck route. We have, and I can pull up that map if that's of interest. I really left it at that as far as the meeting. We can do it. I can pull up the concepts for these plans. If there's questions. I don't know for the purpose of this meeting what would be best. But I'm happy to, if you wanted, I could pull up our concepts and we can run through it, or we could do that another time.
I'm okay without seeing but I do want to maybe sit down and see them. And because just for me, I'm a visual person. So just understanding, combining the name with what that actually looks like. Because when we say names of roads and stuff, I'm just thinking it's kind of all gets out of the brain. So, but yeah, I'll spend some time with you if I can. I don't know what the other folks.
I don't need to look at it, but I do just want to voice my support for updating that plan and going through, making sure it aligns with our new comp plan and
I agree with that.
all the feedback that we've gotten from the public since then.
My request, Holly, would be just the sheets that you've been bringing up, if you could email those to us.
Yeah.
So I can go through again and make notes on what I want to look at or what I'm interested and not interested in, and what my priorities are to bring to the strategic planning meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we've been kind of developing a list of information to get to council. So all the slides from today.
Yeah.
The summary of the plans that will maybe have staff can work on. For sure. Okay.
This is number 8.
The streets and pavement capital improvement plan. Yes, Holly talked about that, but the one she was just referencing is number 10. the 2021 multimodal transportation. plan.
Okay.
On our website, all of our planning documents, if you go to sandpointidaho.gov, homepage, department, planning, community master plans. Everything listed here lives on this website. But again, we'll give you a kind of a high level summary. But I just want to pull out on the multimodal transportation plan. The most exciting part is actually, from my perspective, is actually in the appendices. And it's Appendix A, networks, corridors, and improvement projects. These are the concepts for that $100 million price tag. So you have, this is the pedestrian network, as I described. Everything in orange is considered a pedestrian priority. We have a bike priority network as well. This is our truck route, and this is what was recommended to be revisited. I know one challenge that we have is Division Avenue, for example, has multiple schools, many kids walking and biking to and from school, and it's a truck route. And so those priorities really are in conflict. We've done studies and we'd like to bring that division corridor improvement forward. The recommendation from the engineer was not to do the full build out of division until the Baldy and Boyer intersection is improved. So this intersection right here is a failing level of service. If we improve this intersection and say we put a signal or some type of traffic control mechanism to improve the level of service, then we could consider taking trucks off of division. And potentially this portion of Boyer between Baldy and the highway. So I just want to highlight those. Those are frequently asked questions, but all the concepts are in here. So as you are doing your research, I just want to make sure you be able to find them.
Ollie, I have a question. Have you looked at which, or can you give council a brief overview of which projects from our multimodal transportation master plan are identified as impact fee eligible in our streets capital improvement plan on the impact fees?
I don't have that list at my fingertips. I know division is.
It would be in your impact fee methodology report that was just completed. There would be a list of those capital improvement projects and it would show impact fee dollar eligibility with non-impact fee.
There's I helped draft that list just off the top of my head. I don't remember which ones. I know division, I know US2 and Ontario's on there. I don't think the Baldy extension's on there, but I looked that up.
Just for council, like when we think about, oh, how are we going to pay for a $10 million division corridor improvement? I think that is one in the impact fee capital improvement plan. Some percentage of that, I think it was 19.7% across the board. Is that correct? Is that what we determined?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it's right around 20% of many of these projects may be funded out of impact fees. Now, some of these projects like Great Northern, Baldy, Boyer intersection are also in the urban renewal area. So when we remember, like we've got 3 years to spend that money, some of those projects in the MTMP, we can use urban renewal dollars for if they're within that urban renewal area. And you could pay for 100% of that with urban renewal dollars, or you could match it with some of your impact fee dollars if it's an identified project in the streets CIP. So there is a realistic hope of achieving some of these in the next few years, particularly those that fall within the urban renewal.
There's an incentive
area
to keep up on some of the maintenance. If you end up with an intersection that is failing, then it removes itself from impact fee eligibility, which means you can't use impact fees to improve it because it's already deficient. And so the methodology says that impact fees are to be utilized to help growth related impacts. And once it's already failing, then it's not a growth related impact, it's a current system related impact, and it loses its eligibility for impact dollars. So there's some real strategy also in prioritizing some of these system improvements to make sure we keep them eligible for all of the dollars available to pay for the project.
Maybe we can bring that back and reiterate that at our strategic planning.
Yes.
Meeting some more, because right now, to me, lots of information going in
Yes.
and trying to remember impact fees, okay, urban renewal fees, okay, which projects, what failing, not failing, that what's attainable that might be those type of statements to rise to the top, and maybe you could come back with that other information for us too, or send that out with the slides so that we can just become more familiarized so that when we come to strategic planning, we're more effective.
I'm thinking between Jason and I, what we could do is put, some of these are gonna be parks projects, we could put a list of the projects, the why, and maybe priority, and, cost, and then what it's eligible for, if it's eligible.
That would be beautiful.
That's great. Well, and just for clarity for the new council members, there's different buckets of impact fees. Parks are separate from transportation.
So impact fees are just like a mechanism
Impact,
to, go ahead.
impact fees are collected on new development projects, so
Okay.
new residential. Anyways, and under Idaho code, and we have followed Idaho code with our methodology report, and we have the council has approved impact fees to be assessed against new development. It's a revenue source
Okay.
that is available to help with infrastructure, transportation, and parks specifically when new development is coming in.
Fire and police are also included in.
Yeah,
that.
they're
Police,
safe.
fire, streets, pathways and parks.
Correct.
And how often do we readjust and revamp our impact fees? Because I realized we just did one recently before you know who and I came on.
Yes.
And so I don't know, I'm catching out of here, but
His name's John.
this guy,
It was,
JT.
the city was way behind and
JT.
you are now caught up to
Mhm.
where you should be. Is that a 10-year requirement?
I think we're required to visit every 5 years.
5 years.
Every 5 years.
Every 5
We
years.
don't have to redo them every 5 years, but we can according to the state law.
You should reassess where you're at.
And just for, as an example, like a typical like 1,800 square foot single family house, the impact fee is around $14,000. A little less than half of that is for parks, and then the rest is split up. The second largest chunk is streets, and then pathways, police, and fire. And the rules around impact fees is that they can only be spent on projects that are impacted by new growth. So you cannot improve an existing park with impact fee dollars. You
Like, could
cannot
purchase new park land.
You can purchase new park land, or you can add amenities to existing parks that increase their functionality to serve new growth. So if we have 10 acres within a park that it's just grass right now, we could put a new recreation facility there. We could put a new playground there, but we can't replace a playground with impact fee dollars.
And
that
volleyball and basketball.
Indoor beach
Yes.
volleyball.
Basketball course. And that speaks just kind of,
Right,
just elaboration on my comment of you can't use it to cure current deficiencies. It has to be connected to growth.
I have a question about that portion of it. So speaking of Baldy and Boyer specifically, that intersection's already failing, so we can't use impact fees for that. But the rest of the project out to the highway is adding capacity and therefore could be used?
If it's in our impact fee methodology report and on our capital improvement plan, there would have been assessed to it how much of that improvement is eligible for use of impact fees.
Okay, so you're stuck with only the projects and the impact fee?
Yes.
Because I feel like two of us asked specifically when we approved that, and we're told that that list could be updated.
You amend your CIP list. You can amend your CIP list, your capital improvement plan, as often as you want, and then do an amendment to your impact fee methodology report to have a particular project or a new CIP list evaluated.
Okay,
It's not like stuck for 5 years.
okay.
One of the challenges with the Baldy extension, that's what I think it led to not putting this on that list, is because we want to use those impact fees in the next 10 years.
You have to, or you have to give them back, sorry.
Or you have to give them back. And this is a long-term in the 20-year. So we amend this project in the future when we're closer to the actual build out and construction. But at this point, it was a $20 million project in 2021 dollars. So it's inflated more today, and it'll inflate more once we actually build it. And there's not a funding mechanism behind it at this point. So to start collecting impact fees that would contribute 20%. Would be really lofty for us to find the other 80%. One challenge we have in our streets is everything, it's funded primarily by general fund and our local option tax. So today we collect a resort city tax. So that paired with general fund is, there's not a another tax or rate to support our roads. So
Did that answer your question? So what she said that was really important is impact fee dollars have a window of time that they have to be spent in, or else you have to give them back to the developer. So you don't put projects on your CIP that you don't intend on building out within that collection timeframe.
Got it. Yep.
Okay.
So we do have the, there's there's about 12 or 15 streets projects on our impact fee capital improvement plan. And for Balding Mountain Road and Boyer Avenue, a signal or turn lanes is identified. And 19.6% can be funded by impact fees. And that's because the growth's share of increase in vehicle miles traveled across the city is anticipated to be 19.6% in the next 10 years. So even though it's a currently deficient intersection, growth's contribution to that deficiency since we started collecting impact fees is not 0%. It's a certain percentage. So that's why we can't fund the whole thing with impact fees, but a share of it can be.
And it also sits within the northern SURA boundaries, so we could use SURA funding for it as well. Correct.
So this is going. That's a new road. That's the Baldy Mountain extension that you're discussing.
So this would be an extension of Baldy Mountain Road that today ends at Boyer.
Okay.
It would continue to connect to the highway. And the objective in this is to provide a truck corridor so that you don't have trucks on
Good.
Boyer Division, that they have an alternative route, direct connection to the highway, because this is a very industrial area today.
And I don't know if this is the right place to plug this idea, but quieting railroad crossings.
We do have that in our multimodal transportation plan. It's listed in here in one of our priorities. I think
I'm gonna bring it up again.
Is there a technology to tell us that when a train's coming?
If you can get the golden spike out, then you can solve all the problems. Nobody gets that. The golden spike was the last spike they pounded in to connect all the railroads, but the railroad laws are like the mining laws, and they're from the 1800s. And the mines and the railroads have tons and tons of money, so it's quite an
But
endeavor.
Yeah, I mean,
to-
Ponder Point did it.
Well, there's
That's dangerous.
it's a bigger conversation. If you
Sure.
want to have it, we can have it, but there's a lot of, like you gotta have so much street, you can't have a cross street, you gotta have this, you gotta have that, and you gotta pay for all of it yourself. The railroad will not pay for one block. And so the reason we run into big problems, specifically where division hits Baldy, is because there's just not enough road to do what you have to do to then quiet it. So there's been a lot of these conversations on the dais when Cody was still here, so we can have another one later. I don't want to take up fighting.
I mean, if I lived on South Sandpoint, I probably wouldn't care as much. You know, I just know that living closer to the railroad tracks is like, it's like,
You can hear him in South Hampton.
yeah.
Joe, I want to use use what you just said as an opportunity to kind of double down on something that Fonda said at the beginning of this meeting. You said you want to bring this up again, which is great. So something Fonda said is that homework for you guys is to go through kind of these, everything in these plans and some of the plans that you want us to focus on it and rank things with kind of a 1 to 5 rating. 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, because Holly can't take the fact that you want to bring this up again and run with it and bring back a plan to council only for it to die with a 1 to 4, 1 to 5 vote. I mean, that's just so staff needs to have some serious direction and understanding on what council on a whole wants to do with these. So between now and the next planning meeting, you have a good idea on how much you prioritize things that are specifically identified in these plans. For things that way staff can have some direction and meet your needs as a whole body. So I just wanted to double down.
And that is, thank you for highlighting that. Additionally, you need to be mindful that your priority one may end up as a priority. Your priority 5, which is highest priority, may end up as a priority 1, the lowest priority based on consensus of council. You have to be okay with that. Staff direction is consensus of council. If a vote comes up at the dais that you don't like, you vote no and you move on. That you speak with your vote. But if what's been brought to you is a directive from the strategic planning that is a consensus of council, that is the directive to staff, irrespective of whether or not you like it, or it was one of your top priorities or not. And that's the beauty of 6 different minds, 6 different sets of ideas, 6 different agendas. The power of 4 of you, wins the day. And that's just how it works. So just a reminder.
You win some, you lose.
You win some, you lose.
Who's mostly?
Then you win.
Mostly you lose.
No, I think there can be some winning once you get through this exercise.
We're gonna win, so big.
I have this concept on the screen. This is the couplet project I mentioned earlier that was put on pause. There's a lot of history on this, but very briefly, we have again a highway splitting the middle through our town, and it's owned by ITD. ITD came up with a plan. Their plan was called the Curve. It was very unpopular, so when they were about ready to construct the project in around 2012, it was put on hold just because of how unpopular it was. Sandpoint and Sandpoint residents were really against that plan. The multimodal transportation plan picked that up and developed, trying to balance ITD's needs with what our residents were desiring, and came up with this concept, which is known as the couplet, where you'd actually have, instead of one wide highway through that continues on Pine and goes up Fifth Avenue, you'd split the traffic by 2 directions. So you take an old rail corridor and have one direction of travel there, and then Fifth Avenue would be able to be narrowed or a portion of Fifth Avenue would be narrowed. This concept was about to start a planning effort, and again, it hit a pause because of how unpopular it was. It's something at some point we'll need to revisit as the corridor continues to grow and we continue to have failures, particularly the Boyer and US 2 intersection is really dangerous with its misalignment. You have many pedestrians trying to cross there. So at some point we'll need to figure out what this concept's on hold. What will we do as an alternative?
Holly, do you want to speak just to a minute, just high level of what happens to our relationship with another jurisdiction like ITD when they have a plan or a proposal that meets so much resistance locally, and how that affects the city's ability to move forward with that jurisdiction?
It happened in 2012 when we put that project on hold, and putting that project on hold meant that ITD spent about $2 million on that time, not to mention all of their staff work in developing those design drawings, working with permitting to get that project ready for construction. It was put on hold. ITD does not see a lot of turnover. They're a place that people are lifers. They'll stay with that department for many, many years. So we have folks who poured their heart and soul into this project, and we're still working with them today. If you've looked at the ITD ITIP, they put out their plans for the next 10 years, and you'll just notice that Sandpoint doesn't have any projects on there. We have the Highway 2 corridor with many priorities identified, but they haven't spent any money in Sandpoint in the past 10 years.
Well, they did the Fifth Avenue Highway 200 widening 3 years ago, where they added a lane underneath the railroad bridge there, leaving town.
That was a result of the byway. That was a project that came about when they did the byway project. That was part of that project, so they were finishing.
So it was already it was pre-approved.
That was on a 2008 tip or something, or ITIP.
Yeah, it had something to do with there was some type of transit where a truck of X height couldn't get under that railroad crossing, and it was identified with the byway project.
That was the last ITD project in Sandpoint since the byway.
So basically 2012, slap in the face, then we had this project, like, cool, we're moving forward with something. You know, people come, we vote no, slap in the face, that's how they're perceiving it to some degree.
They're
Like,
kind
why
of.
we're gonna waste time and energy if.
The community.
Better come up with a better project.
They're really looking at us. So it's their corridor. They came up with a solution that we didn't like. So while it's their corridor, they're not eager to make any improvements here or expend any more resources. If it did start to fail and got so bad, they would, if I was in their shoes, I'd pick up that old couplet project that I already have stamped and engineered and implement it. So I
Curve project.
the curve project, yeah,
Pre-couplet.
pre-couplet. So I.
What do you mean by that? They could do that without?
Yeah.
They could just do that, right?
They can do it.
Eminent domain.
Well,
They don't need it, they don't own the property.
Yeah, they own it. I just say to highlight that if Sandpoint wants to get a better product, we need to come to the table and not, if we wait for ITD to fix their highway, we'll probably get the curb, which nobody wanted. And if we're gonna look for ITD to support us in these improvements, to date, they've not done that.
And I wanted Holly to explain that so that you can just start to have a basic understanding of the ripple effect into other jurisdictions that your decisions have, number one, to include financing and improvements of a major corridor that you have. And it's not necessarily, this wasn't about the curve or the couplet or is it good, is it bad? It's not that at all. It's that to be mindful of how your decisions can have long-term ripple effects and to help you gain a better understanding for educating the people you talk to in the public.
It had a better idea a long time ago. They just didn't follow through with it. And it's still on the books as far as I know. I can't remember what number.
Oh,
That,
Western bypass.
yep, just
Lots,
saying,
lots of property acquisition and.
I'm just saying.
Big costs.
that's eminent domain, where she said.
Had it been done a long time ago.
Sidestep, they will sidestep, right away
Looking at
acquisition.
those in most of Sagal, so maybe eminent domain isn't a big deal for them. The one statement that I just would want to add on that conversation is that we wouldn't want to mislead ITD into thinking that we still support the couplet and then have them put energy into moving forward with it, only to have Sandpoint come back a third time and say, no, we still don't want that. So yeah, we don't want to tell ITD that they can't improve their highway, because they absolutely can. But we also don't, I think there's a danger of keeping this in our plan that would send a message to ITD or the UATP or whatever, that this is something that Sandpoint wants to move forward with, when I think the public was pretty clear that they did not want to
Twice.
move forward with it. Yeah.
Twice.
My only caution, and it's very clear that was not a popular, either project was not popular, and that's fine. My caution is, time is of the essence. This is a very bad, dangerous intersection that's failing. So coming up with a concept that is well received by the public and something we do want to move forward with it, which might be a priority.
Another overpass, perhaps.
Overpass.
Byway.
And also
Oh,
keeping in mind and remembering that this was the city's attempt at putting our fate in our hands. Because right now our fate is very much in ITD's hands. We have no grounds to stop them from coming in and doing the curve, which is a more extreme version of this that would turn this part of Sandpoint into more of a highway. So that when these intersections reach that fail point, that project will be put back on their 10-year plan, and it will happen to us. If we can come to them with a project that solves the long-term level of service challenges at these intersections that we agree on as a community is better than the curve, then we stand a chance of controlling our fate. Otherwise, our fate's in their hands, because it's their right of way. They don't need any eminent domain. They don't need any permission from the city to come and do those projects.
If there's a park there, they can't do that, right?
The park
That's
in
true.
their right of way.
Yeah.
Put a park in
Can't
their
put a
right of
park
way.
in there, right?
there are pieces of property in the way of the curve.
There are, and those property owners have expressed great interest in selling to ITD because fact, that was their long-term business plan was to sell to ITD.
That's only the muffler shop, I believe,
Correct.
but it's one business, the muffler
That's-
shop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Everything
still
else-
Anyway,
That's all.
Move on.
Can we buy the muffler shop?
Let's
I
move.
think that, I think the message here isn't curve.
Yeah,
Let's,
it's,
it's,
But,
It's
So-
prioritization.
it's prioritization of projects.
yep,
Understanding collateral consequences.
Correct.
move on.
Yeah.
If council, so again, you'll get summaries of all these. If you do need a deeper dive in any of these concepts, happy to have a workshop. I just have 2 more slides on, and actually just 1 more slide on stormwater. Super short, we have 20 miles of pipe in our stormwater system. Our design, so when we look at planning effort, we have a plan from 2016 that was never adopted, but its design guide was a 2-year, 6-hour storm. We're preparing for MS4, so in 2030, when they do the census and it is confirmed that Sandpoint has exceeded 10 million population, we will have to have a permitting.
The thousand,
10
please.
million.
Don't make this.
$10 million.
Just a little bit.
10,000, we'll have a permitting requirement very similar to our wastewater treatment plant. So in preparation for that, we're actively updating our stormwater plan, and we intend to engage an engineering firm, work on this plan, bring it to council for adoption. But our existing plan that again was not adopted by council does have $7 million of improvements that were identified in 2015. And that was really looking at collectors on Boyer South in the Central Boyer and then 3rd Avenue, putting in a collector. So very likely you'll see that $7 million CIP grow with the update from the new plan. And then that master plan also has concepts for infrastructure. So there are many BMPs, best management practices, identified for green stormwater treatment, outfall, options for treatment, kind of a suite of different alternatives for how we can manage stormwater before it enters the lake.
And Holly, that just for clarification, that's the plan you're talking about is the 2016 Stormwater Facilities Plan?
Yes. It was not adopted by council, but
How come it's on the website if it's not adopted and dated?
I did not put things on the
I
website.
put it there. I didn't know it wasn't adopted by council, sorry.
You confirm there's no resolution adopting that Stormwater Facilities Plan?
I believe it was purposefully not adopted, because they were working to, originally we thought we were gonna hit the 10,000 population in 2020.
Yeah, we're so close.
I think we
And-
should put a note on the website that this is not adopted by council. Or remove it. We should talk about that.
Okay.
We'll have a new one relatively soon too.
And the plan is really to take this plan and update it and modernize it and fill in the gaps.
Is it, on your map does it show where those collectors are or would be?
This just has the existing, the plan has those highlighted.
Okay.
It doesn't show on the screen.
I don't know if that's before what those other pipes are going into Sand Creek. If they're not. So they're from past developments, we can talk again.
So given that where this is already on the strategic planning meeting, it's coming out of, this effort is coming out of what the strategic plan that's currently in place. The next item that council would see on the agenda for something related to this would be hiring a consultant.
Yes.
Okay, just to kind of prep them, because this one's well in the works, so it would be hiring the consultant to be performing the scope of work for developing the stormwater master plan.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not saying when that's gonna be, I just kind of wanted to
Yeah.
prep you guys for, that's the next step that you will see.
Okay.
That's all I have for my presentation. I didn't touch on our forestry plan, Little Sand Creek watershed plan. There's a few others on here I didn't speak to, but I'll make sure you guys get the summary for a holistic summary of everything.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good information, Holly.
Any other questions for Holly? Other side of the room. Whoever wants to go first.
Hello.
You're in the wrong.
So,
meeting.
dude.
Like in the wrong.
White line today.
Soccer practice, not here.
I love the look on his face, like. True. New faces on the committee.
All right, I think Sarah is going to go next.
All right, during the strategic planning, sessions and process, it's always important to remember that there's budget process and, obviously we can't do everything out there that we want to do. So I'm just going to give a few points of revenue constraints that we have. Again, you should still be looking at what you want, not thinking, oh, I can't afford this. It's more of a, this is what I want, and then we'll figure out what can we do, because obviously can't do it all at once, but we got to figure out what years we're going to do them in. Just to keep in mind, the resort city tax, the 14%, half of that goes to streets at the currently. And then half of it goes to a hodgepodge of things. And on the next slide here, this is the 7% that is other stuff. So police services, fire services, public transportation contracts, spot, invasive species and park maintenance. The reason why I bring this up is that this is a tax that we have till 2035. It is 10 more years, but that will come sooner than what we think. And this is going to be, in my opinion, this is a huge impact to our, if this is not renewed, if we don't have, maybe even have ability to do it in the future. Who knows with the new legislation coming out, if we're going to even be able to do these in the future. So if these go away, it will be in 10 years, a huge impact to what we as a council, maybe not you, but a council will have to decide on how this impacts just general operating. And so that's one revenue constraint I wanted to mention. The property taxes, I mentioned earlier that we are able to increase those by 3% maximum every year. That's just to the base amount of property taxes. We also do get new construction rolls. So all the new building and stuff that you see going on, we do get new construction levy for that as well. That doesn't increase the levy to everybody else, just to those new property, the new property coming on, but then they become part of the base. So that's just one other constraint that we have here in the state or in our city and state. Yes.
So you have it up there as Best Western.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this constraint as well.
Okay.
So these are constraints that I'm going through a list. Yeah.
Okay, because we do have other hotels in downtown, so I thought that was a total number, but okay. Yeah, I see where it says other. All right.
Sarah, can I make a comment on the local option tax?
Yes.
So is everybody aware what the local option tax is and why we are able to do it? Why we are able as Sandpoint to have a local option tax?
Resort town.
The state law allows resort cities to have local option taxes that have to be approved by 60% supermajority by voters. Okay, that's what the sales tax that we had until 2021 was a local option sales tax of 1% on all sales in the city. That's what paid for the $7 or $10 million of War Memorial Field improvements, from the new grandstands to the turf to the boat launch and the new docks and everything that we got there. Most of it, there were some grants involved as well. When that 1% tax, and we had a 7% tax throughout that time as well on lodging, correct?
Yep.
The 1% tax started in 2021. In 2022, there was an additional 1% on the ballot for another 7 or 10 years to pay for the implementation of our Parks Master Plan, our 2021 Parks Master Plan. That one failed at the ballot, got 51.5% approximately. So we haven't had a local option sales tax since 2021. Okay, that sales tax is what you're considering putting back on the ballot this year. What we do have is the 7% lodging tax, which in 2023, that's what you see there, the increase from 2022 to 2023 was when we doubled the lodging tax from 7% to 14%. Okay.
Because we looked at all the rest of the resort cities and they were charging that 14. And we were only.
We're the highest in the state.
One was.
We're the highest in the
We're
state.
the highest.
We're the highest in the state on lodging.
Okay.
Other cities like McCall has a 7% lodging tax. We're pretty high for even for the resort cities in our lodging tax. But if Sandpoint voters are going to support anything, it's taxing tourists. And so that one passed with like 70-some%. The doubling of our lodging tax was passed with a wide margin. That one's good till 2035. Now there's all this talks about when our population hits 10,000, we will lose our resort city status. What I wanted to tell you is that I'm involved actively with the Resort Cities Coalition on establishing a definition of resort city that eliminates that 10,000 threshold. The drafts we've been working on, and I've been a key part of this like subcommittee trying to get the language right. We're moving away from a hard population limit and it's going to be, we're moving towards something like no more than X% of the state's population. So that threshold increases as the state's population grows. Because it really doesn't make sense to have a 10,000 threshold when that was established, since that was established, the state's population has increased by like 30%. So why are we keeping all the resort cities below this arbitrary threshold of 10,000? So we're moving away from a fixed numerical amount and moving towards a definition of resort city that ties the population to the state's population and also creates a definition that basically fits the 20 or 21 resort cities that we have now, but would make it exceedingly difficult for any other cities to become designated as resort cities. And the reason that's important is that the state legislators are extremely anti-tax, big surprise, right? So what they don't want is a definition of resort city that would allow 40 new cities in Idaho to be called resort cities and then put local option taxes on the ballot. And then we see taxation increase across the state. So it's a very difficult task right now to rewrite the definition of resort city. The numerical side is super easy. You just tie it to the state's population, whatever, 1.5% of the state's population or whatever it might be. But getting a definition in place that encapsulates the 20 or so resort cities that we have, but excludes most other cities. Otherwise, the legislators, the fear of the Resort City Coalition right now is that this legislature is going to come after the local option taxing authority of resort cities and take it away through legislation next year or the year after because they're anti-tax. Okay. And if that happened, then I'm not sure I think our local option tax would immediately become illegal and we'd not even have this one until 2035. So there's a real risk of us losing this taxing authority sooner than 2035. But we're hopeful that by the time this expires in 10 years, we will have gotten a definition adopted at the state level that would mean that even if when our population exceeds 10,000, we could still have that local option taxing authority. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes to try to protect the lot. That's the number one priority of the Resort Cities Coalition is protect the lot because every single one of us depends on that tax revenue for services and for infrastructure. By one of us, I mean all the resort cities that are part of that group.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well then I guess I'll just jump into this. So this is a short term effect of a revenue constraint that I wanted to point out is that with the hotel, the Best Western Edgewater, they bring in about 20%. It's varied over the years. It's actually gone down over the past several years. Their total percent, but that's the current year and the next 2, 3, however long it takes them to build, constraint that we will as a council have to worry or think about and plan for and during budgeting. So again, that's not really strategic planning, but it kind of is, and it is part of the next 3 years. So the next ones, and that's all the slides I have. A couple other ones I wanted to talk about is the state revenue sharing. That is a big portion of our general fund. And that is, we get liquor sale sharing, we get also highway dollar sharing. We also get what they call just revenue sharing, which is a hodgepodge of sales tax and a few other types of taxes that they put in. That is coming directly from the state. So it's based on state formulas. Those again can change at legislature at any moment. I should say any moment, but they can do that through the legislation process. So yes, they are steady, but they also could change. We did see a big change in the revenue sharing one back about 4 years ago. Thank goodness it didn't change ours that much, but some cities saw a huge change in what they received. Some a lot bigger, some a lot less. So I just point that out as just an FYI. And then STIR, we talked about them. They that funding will also go away in 2029. Thank goodness that one's tied just to projects. So really, when that goes away, it'll just be projects that we're not doing, not actual operating expenses that are on the line for that. And then just one that I'll talk about is just the utility rates. That's for utility funds. That's obviously based on the expenses that are in those utilities. So there's revenue constraints. We want to also not raise those rates too much, else it affects the residents. So we have to very monitor that. what we have as expenses and capital improvements and all that stuff in that. That's why actually hinging on the capital improvement plans, what we have in those plans directly impact rates because those go right into the rates. So they're very important to scrub through and to really get key or dialed in. I also wanted to share just quickly, I won't be long with this, is so during the budgeting process, which does start in February, we are just actually starting underway of that. You guys have seen this every year since I've been here of the process of how it goes. This year, I want you in strategic planning. I would love to have you guys talk about any improvements, anything that you guys want to see for this process. We follow a lot of this currently. We do very much what other cities do across the state. We are constrained on certain timelines that we get information from the state. So some of these dates are hinged on all those dates. One thing that I did see in other cities that some of them are doing is that they are actually adopting or I shouldn't say adopting, they're just setting the public hearing date in April, for the fall. That's just the date. In the past, we have to have that turned in by 4:30 at the end of the month of April. We've just picked that date, as in the clerk and I have picked that date. I really think that needs to come to you guys to set that date. So that'll be new. You'll be seeing that. One thing that I have put into this that is different, and I want to see how that goes, and maybe this will be wrapped in the strategic planning, is a kickoff meeting earlier in the year where we actually kick that off. So that is planned for 4/15, so we can do a kickoff meeting and then also set a public hearing date for that as well.
So you have that coming to them as a decision point, the date for the public hearing, so that they'll
Yes.
have that kind of in their mind. And
Yep.
then a kickoff meeting for budget to say like an overview of what the process is gonna look like from
Yes.
April through
Yep.
August.
Yep. And at that point, when we bring that, so at the next council meeting, not this one, but the one after that, we'll be having the annual financial statements. We'll be having final numbers for the year, how the fiscal year 25 closed out. And I'll be presenting a lot of those at that kickoff budget meeting. So you guys can have good ideas of what you're looking at for fund balances and whatnot for one-time monies, which again, then also go into strategic planning and hopefully will help with this process. So other than that, there is, I know he has on here cost drivers. I didn't really think that there's too many to talk. I don't really know exactly what he meant by that. So I didn't prepare any cost drivers per se. And then capital obligations, we have a CIP plan. We already adopted that for this current year. So I'm not going to bring anything up on that at all, besides the fact that what we're doing now really does feed into our capital plan that we're going to be hopefully the 20-year plan. So I think other than that, did you have any more, Jason, for the economic context on that point?
No, I think just driving home that idea that what we do with our, approximately 10 million of SURA funds really matters, because we want to leave a legacy of stimulating economic development downtown and in the north. So what infrastructure or public-private partnerships or improvements to, public or private property can we do that would multiply for future residents in terms of lower property taxes?
I got a question. Is there any indication that the statewide budget shortfall is going to affect the sharing of the liquor and sales taxes?
So liquor is based on actual sales. So no, I didn't say no. No, people drink more and people get more.
People are drinking more.
And then the revenue sharing does somewhat affect I don't think it does by the actual cuts that they're doing, but it is revenue sharing. So some of it is sales tax. I know we have seen a sale, from what I've read, there's a sales tax that's on this downswing. So that would impact us. When we budget, they do give us numbers and we do budget a little conservative just in case that does happen. So I don't see it impacting us as much as you see what you hear going on down there.
Okay, so it's not like something that would get swept into a budget cut. It would actually take legislation to change the formula.
Yes, especially the revenue sharing, because that is a formula that they have set by legislation. Now, the driver going into that, again, if there's less sales, then yes, it would impact that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
question.
Okay.
Shop more, drink more.
Who's gonna be at our next strategic meeting that we're planning on having again?
Who's gonna be present?
Yeah,
So it'll be you guys and your directors and your facilitator.
okay, we're not gonna have Jason there to ask
He's
questions.
a director.
Oh, okay, great.
We'll all be
It'll be the same group.
Okay,
Which they have facilitated.
okay.
Try something a little bit better.
Unless you don't want me there, Joe.
No, I just didn't know if we're gonna have you there to ask questions.
You might have some public,
You might have some public members.
they can't, last one, they weren't allowed to talk.
They're not allowed to speak at a workshop. They might observe.
Good. Okay.
So for central services, a lot of, we don't have master plans. We don't, that's what we're supporting. So, but we have a lot within the initiatives themselves. And I think a lot of that conversation is like during the actual strategic planning. Like what has been accomplished and what are priorities that should shift. We're constantly evaluating the organizational structure and staffing levels. We've got efficiency study that we're preparing, which will help address staffing levels. Where should we be? So a lot of ours has to do with workforce productivity, community engagement and access, all of the technology that enables the community to participate in our public meetings, our hearing impaired, Zoom, that sort of stuff. So most of what I would have to talk about is actually during the strategic planning process itself. Because I don't, unless you have like specific questions. I mean, I can go through initiatives and discuss them, but I just feel like that's part of the next step.
Understood.
Are there initiatives on the current strategic plan that you feel like could be checked off that they've been completed, but
Several.
would it be
Several.
helpful, since Cheryl's the last one, for you guys, for us to go through it page by page and get a consensus from your staff as to what's been completed? Is that a helpful exercise?
Sounds like it would be.
In addition to what,
I think that's where it's going.
well, I think we just start at
At each one,
go through each page. Where did it?
Okay.
which would start
Figure
with,
out how to turn my pages.
Because it's stapled backwards for you.
Rip it off. Get a stapler.
Good point.
First one's has.
So housing,
There's a stapler in the office.
housing diversity and growth. So it says, this is when I kind of gave you guys an example of earlier where I was looking at it and then realized there was already a housing and economic analysis completed that you and adopted. So the study itself has been complete. Whether or not any initiatives have actually been completed out of the study is a different conversation, but the study itself has been complete. Number 2 was revise and update titles 9, 10, and 11 of the city code. So those efforts are underway, as you can tell. Some of that has been brought before you recently, and you will likely see again and more of. It's right. It was really only ripe for work after you completed your comprehensive plan and you adopted that, which you did. So comprehensive planning drives your code. And so that is currently in effort because this strategic plan is in place. Conduct a public process to critically review and update the city's comprehensive plan. You've done that. You did the public process, you did the comprehensive plan. Update the land use map and associated zoning. So you've updated the land use map. That's part of your comprehensive plan. Zoning code is happening right now with your update to 9, 10, and 11 of your city code. Do you guys see how these all work together? I'm rattling them off quickly, but questions so far or pardon?
That's a little bit of a It's listed twice, like the
Yeah, it's.
the associated zoning is the 9, 10, and 11?
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha.
Not exactly. 9, 10, 11 refers to the city code. The zoning is like,
Zoning
are there
designation.
zone changes that need to follow on our updated future land use map from, because the comp plan does not include a zoning map, it includes a future land use map. What do we desire in different parts of town? And then we have to compare that to our existing zoning map and say, are there zone changes that are needed to bring it into compliance with the comp plan?
And that part has not been done.
It's been in process. There's not many,
Nothing's been brought to council.
right? And there's honestly not, I don't think
Wouldn't
there are
make
any
impact.
like zone changes needed following the comp plan adoption. Yeah.
Complete a hydraulic assessment of sewer collection system, update the capital improvement plan as appropriate, and identify associated funding sources. Ollie?
That was completed in 2023 with a sewer collection plan. We now have a hydraulic model, updated CIP.
Reevaluate utility service policies and growth in the area of city impact and surrounding jurisdictions. So anything related to area of city impact in the strategic plan, you kind of have to throw out and start from scratch because of what happened with legislation that we didn't anticipate was going to happen in 2022. So like the negotiate ACI boundaries, well, we did that and they are non-existent.
But the reevaluating the utility service
That we
policies
still need to do.
and surrounding jurisdictions, that's still just the area of city impact can get stricken from that.
Correct.
The rest of it's still in progress.
Yeah, and then the last one, develop and implement a workforce housing strategy and priority plan. So this has been a source of conversation at the council level recently. You will recall in one of our last meetings, after this strategic plan was adopted, there was an effort to bring forth and implement a kind of a housing authority, and you're going to see that term again later in the strategic plan, and that was denied by council at that time. So in your strategic planning, it's going to be important to identify whether this council wants to revisit that. And I would say based on the experience we had already, really be mindful of a specific measurable goal of what you would like the end result to be. Don't just say, work on a plan. Like really think about measurable initiatives you'd like to put in place. I think that would be more useful for staff. The idea of the housing authority and the decision point around that last time, I personally, it's my own personal opinion, felt like was a little underdeveloped. So. Integrated planning, complete the recreation component of the watershed master plan. This might be more
Done.
done. Jason and Holly can kind of go through this list. I think your next one was done too, but go ahead. Jason.
Complete park and supply demand study, including ADA compliance. The study was done in 2022 in the follow-on plan. So we've like even gone beyond just the study there. So that's done.
Is the ADA compliance analysis done?
No.
No,
No.
in fact, I'm just now doing a
Oh.
contract for that
Yes.
ADA transition plan. Like I literally got it Friday from the
That one's
proposal.
half done.
So we're gonna be in the contract phase of getting that transition plan done.
As far as the ADA committee that's not started yet, but that's
Mhm.
been talked about, I'd be looking for some feedback on that in the next meeting that we discuss. If that's something that, council maybe want to put forward for a committee wise, and I'd like to head that up.
Do we have an
I
ADA?
think what happened is find people to support.
Nobody wanted to be on it.
We did some outreach a year and a half ago when we reformed all the committees. We had 1 or 2 applicants to be on that committee. So to get that committee off the ground, we would need to do more outreach and probably ask specific community members to volunteer for that committee.
Okay. Are there requirements in the code for that committee that would make it restrictive and difficult for?
Good question. We'd have to look at what the code says around, because like forestry committee obviously requires, 1 arborist and 1 something or other. I think there might be something about we want at least 1 representative from the disabled community or
Sure.
whatever it is. So
Yeah, if that's the barrier that's holding up the show, it'd be good to know that.
I would just, ADA is, it's very complicated. It's an expertise. Everyone in the room is aware of it, but also carries a really high risk for the city. So I would just offer if we are going to engage a committee that we're really strategic in what goals and what they're working on. So we're not putting ourselves in any sort of risk scenario.
And I know we were discussing it before when Christine Coleman was here, because she was an ADA specialist, she was an expert. So it was really discussed then because she was gonna be the expert. The city does not currently have an ADA expert on staff like she was.
Could that be a resident, just a community person?
It's a pretty intense certification.
Could be somebody out there.
Maybe somebody in the community has that.
So the scope of work proposal that you're working on, Cheryl, is that for the ADA compliance analysis or for the accessibility compliance plan and implementation?
Let me see.
Because there's two separate components on this list.
Okay, let's see here.
So we had an employee within the city that had that.
We did,
credential?
and she's been gone for some time.
Yes.
3 years.
Okay, this is to update the ADA transition plan.
Years. One, two.
Well, and we don't have to solve that now. Let's put a pin
Let's keep
in
going.
what we're working on, but know that ADA is on the radar right now. It's just got some constraints.
This one does not constitute a comprehensive Title II effort.
So it's
So-
probably just a compliance analysis.
Yes.
Develop a wayfinding plan and implement.
Not started.
I didn't think so.
Under the downtown phase 3, there's going to be a wayfinding component to that. It's very specific to downtown, but it's probably appropriate to be read, but just an FYI.
Does that have anything to do with like bicycle wayfinding
Could.
that they did?
Could have.
Because they did have a lot of maps for that somewhere.
How do bikes get to City Beach
Right.
with that bridge in First is going to be the priority there.
I think that was, how they get to the beach was priority, I thought. but
Yep.
Should be out there.
Review and update truck routes.
You say that's underway, like we've been doing that.
I would put that as red. We haven't done we've made updates to our truck route, but not a holistic update.
Right, we took them off Pine Street, that's like one small change.
In downtown.
And I would put red
Thank you.
the Title II compliance component, the plan and implement, because when we contract with the transition plan, it specifically states that the Title II compliance plan would be a separate phase of this contract. So if we had budget, we could then contract with this consultant to go into phase 2, which would be Title II.
Okay.
What we're doing right now does not include Title II.
Gotcha, but if perhaps in the next year's budget, we could budget for full Title II compliance.
Correct.
But you think this would be red because we haven't started that yet?
We have no. Mm-mm.
Complete the urban area transportation plan update.
That was
That was
completed.
done, yeah.
That's what I thought. Schedule and conduct a full review and update of the Sandpoint City Code. Conduct a systematic chapter by chapter review for current relevance, enforceability, and ways to improve outcomes.
I don't know if I can call that yellow. I mean, we're doing it like a paragraph at a time.
Little bit at a time.
That's like 100-year project.
We'll be working on the next comp plan by the time you're done with that.
So I think this originally was contemplated that if you guys have worked on this before at all, you send your code out to an objective consultant who does an overall review for compatibility and inconsistencies and blah, 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 and flow, and then they provide feedback. What's happened is rather than budgeting for that type of an exercise, all of the code drafting has been kept in-house. And so it'll be important for you guys to talk about whether or not you want to budget at any point or have it part of your strategic planning for a complete overview, or you want to continue to have it done piece by piece in-house as time and efforts permit.
Press
So
corner,
just
it's a
kind of keep that on your radar. Infrastructure, initiate and complete design build of a new wastewater treatment plant. Well, I think initiation is well underway. Develop and implement a master plan for a stormwater utility system and evaluate the transition and ongoing costs, risks, and benefits of the establishment of a stormwater utility for fund upgrades, expansion, and maintenance.
Yellow.
Underway,
I mean,
We're just kicking it off.
just started.
I would call that yellow. The metric I've been using is yellow is if the conversation's happening in City Hall or
Yellow.
efforts are underway, it's yellow. I mean, it's not that, red to me would mean
Nothing's
we haven't
happened.
done anything on that.
There's no budget, there's no conversation, there's no nothing. So when you guys go through this after the colors are on it, if you want everything red to stay in here, it stays. Yellow is gonna take on a different priority than it had before. Green is gonna fall out because it's done, and then you're gonna replace that with whatever your next vision is.
Is this helpful? Do you want me to send you guys this highlighted version?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Just save it in here.
Do you want to keep going through it, or do you want
I
to
just-
just do it?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay.
The
Develop-
Exercise.
And implement a master plan. Oh, we did that, sorry. Develop and maintain flow models for water, sewer, and stormwater systems to support service responsiveness, development, permitting, investment planning, growth readiness, and emergency preparedness.
But that's yellow. We have models for water, sewer, and one outcome of that master plan for stormwater will be a model. And we have a traffic model as well.
Develop and implement a 5-year integrated city capital improvement plan, including 20-year forecast. That's done.
That's part of our impact fee study.
Yes. Initiate an implementation plan and associated funding sources for street and sidewalk improvements identified in the adopted multi transportation plan. It's really initiate an implementation plan and associated funding sources.
I would say it's yellow. We did the 14, the 1/2, the 14%. It was dedicated to streets.
Yeah.
And then we'll be discussing next Wednesday, the 1%, and that would be another funding source for streets, if that's what is decided.
That's true. I think it is yellow. It's in the efforts. Responsive community services. So this is deliver essential city services efficiently and effectively. Develop a strategic plan, working on that. Oh, wait, for Sandpoint Fire Services and regularly evaluate the JPA. So Sandpoint's taken on, the fire service has taken on a whole new look since this was drafted. JPA's dissolved, and I think it's yellow because you heard Gavin say they're working on an internal strategic plan right
Yeah,
now.
correct.
Map the processes for building and planning services, then update standard operating procedures and policies to optimize service delivery efficiency. I think that has gone leaps and bounds forward.
Definitely huge progress, but still more work to be done.
Correct.
So I'd say yellow.
Correct. Do you guys have any addition to that? Okay. So really,
That just.
it was how are planning services delivered to the public
Right, so now we have online forms and blah, blah, blah.
and
that's all
internal
part of that
processes.
effort.
This SOP, standard operating procedures for the whole planning and building department,
Okay.
which Bill and Pete have been fantastic at developing and implementing, but there's always more that can be done.
Okay, so, right.
So, yeah, in terms of the next strategic plan, is this something that's gonna take 5 years, or is this something that you?
I don't know if it'll ever be done, honestly. Like, there's always room for growth. Like, we're always looking to streamline and improve our operations in the department. So
But we were pretty old school, clunky
Yeah.
paper forms, so now we're.
like, for example, with the new STR code, we're going to digitalize our entire STR application. Right now, it's like literally most people download it and print it out and fill it out by hand and turn it in. No more of that. STR permits are all going to be online. But that requires building it out in BSNA. So that's going to be Mandy and Katie. Thanks to work.
So I actually have like,
There might not be by the time we get there.
I actually have like all of the businesses that can be conducted online right now. And like Jason said, in planning, permits are online only. All documents are uploaded for permits on the website. Schedule view inspections are all done electronically. Payments for building and planning, finance, including utilities, apply for and pay for business licenses online, alcohol catering and special event permits, parks and rec programming, including mortgage, JER, youth and adult programs, and setting up, transfer and stopping utility service. So we have so many services that are available electronically and online and through our website.
So do you think, Cheryl, that falls under the next one that's, or two down that says continue to identify customer service opportunities to improve customer service such as?
Yes, I would call that, I would call that green for the most part. I mean, we've done a really good job. Yes, we could still add some more. There are some things that still have to be done in person, but it's so limited that, yeah, I would call that green.
So the one above it, reevaluate recreation services, staffing and structure, and develop a written implementation plan that aligns with community demographics, interests, and priorities. Placemaking, facility development, recreational trends, special events, programming, and maximize collaborative relationships. I don't know what that means.
It's a lot. You can definitely say we've been reevaluating recreation services, staffing and structure.
That's a good start. I don't know
Yeah.
what the rest of it is.
I've seen throughout our planning documents that oftentimes special events is lumped with recreation. I think in the last few years, Haley, we've kind of moved special events out of the recreation department.
Yes.
So
So
that's-
you can
I'd
mark
call that-
part of it as green and the rest of it as some as red and some as yellow. Like it's not an all-in-one.
True.
It's kind of accomplished, in progress, and hasn't been started all in one.
And question mark.
Yeah.
Is it attainable? That seems like a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Special event programming, one thing we've been kind of talking about is having council part of our special event review process. There's some permits that come in and police, fire look at it. I look at it from Public Works and it's like, well, maybe council might want to weigh in here. So maybe that is why that's on there.
Oh, good point. Good idea. And some of these you guys may say, I hate this. I don't like any of it. Let's eliminate it altogether. That's perfectly acceptable. It's not part of your plan anymore. Evaluate Sandpoint Parks system, including division staffing and structure, facilities and site plans and associated revenue models, and implement an optimized management plan to meet current and future community uses and upkeep. I think Jason has been working on that consistently every single day.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to do, but I'd say we've done a lot, especially at JER and looking at the RV park, the revenue models around that.
Yeah, I would, and the efficiency study that we're going to be doing, I'm drafting that RFP. It's going to be evaluating staffing levels in all departments, but it's going to include parks as well.
Mostly
Evaluate,
done.
pardon me?
Mostly done.
Green means like it's getting done. Like a lot of this is just work that's going to be ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Continue
Very
to.
true.
If the prompt is continue to, then you can't stop continuing to do something.
Strategic planning,
Yeah.
continue to work on this,
Yes.
continue to develop systems. Evaluate police call load for opportunities to reclaim officer time for higher value needs. I think that is green.
Green.
Chief Kuhn does that continuously. And we get the benefit of knowing because of, director's meetings and his regular.
Because he
reports.
bears those
And
calls.
he does, yes, yes.
You love those, Pam, I can tell.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Workforce productivity, I think Cheryl's spoken to some of this, assess staffing levels relative to workload distribution and develop plans to optimize the balance as appropriate. I know that work has been ongoing for at least the last 2 years.
It's going to be ongoing, and the efficiency study is going to be a lot to do with that. So I would call it yellow.
Yeah.
Complete a robust compensation review that includes, that's been done.
Yes,
I did
done.
that one.
Check. Develop and implement methods to routinely and reliably assess the strength of employee engagement and communications. I don't think any of that. Exit interviews don't count.
No, I mean, there hasn't been like scientific surveys. We are regularly, and council is copied on those as well. we're regularly communicating with staff and providing them information. We do a newsletter every month. We're really trying to get employee engagement and communication. I think we're doing a really good job at that.
Those coffee clashes,
Yeah,
whatever they're called.
yeah, and then we do the newsletter, we do, you know, all the emails, we're doing workshops for them, so we're constantly trying to find ways to engage and communicate. So I would say that's yellow. I think that's gonna be always. I mean, that's,
Okay, well, you're calling some ongoing things green and some yellow.
Well, and I would just, for that one, I would kind of disagree just a little bit. The purpose of this is to assess the strength of employee engagement and communication. I think we're taking all the efforts to create employee engagement. I don't know that we put.
haven't
any
done any
measures in
survey.
Okay, well, that's quite.
We have
different.
not done any surveys.
Yeah, there's been no survey. I mean, like I said, exit interviews don't count. So I know of no ongoing measures right now to assess employee engagement and communication.
Not right.
Nothing objective.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Broaden training, leadership development, integrated teamwork, and management structures to increase resiliency, efficiency, conflict resolution, and satisfaction.
Yes, we've increased our safety training opportunities, materials that go out to the departments. We've done leadership training and we continue to identify training opportunities for the supervisors and managers. The directors hold a semi-monthly collaboration meeting together. And we've also kicked off quarterly meetings with the supervisors and directors for just better overall communication, operational working. You know, because we just need to have that cross-department operations.
You do
We have to work
conflict
together.
Yeah, I think Pam, you hit on something. I haven't seen any work towards increasing, I've seen work towards efficiency, management structures. I haven't seen anything towards specific to resiliency, conflict resolution, or employee satisfaction.
I am working on a resiliency type plan. Basically, it's going to be it's going to include retention and attraction. So working on that. Conflict resolution.
That's not all you're share.
Does,
Lawyer and tell them.
does Idaho cities, like group help do any training on any things like that for cities?
Yes.
Conflict resolution and stuff, okay.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, and we have had conflict resolution as part of our larger training groups that we've done. That's been incorporated into those trainings. And there's been like harassment type training that includes conflict resolution training. So we have done that.
And so that would have to be all the time ongoing. 'Cause
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
never
a
completely solved.
kind of a process that's always,
Yeah,
it's just,
that's just human resources, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Continue performance management, discipline, benchmarking others to find ways to improve accountability and recognition. I think that's ongoing.
That is ongoing, and we did revamp our performance reviews to make them more valuable to staff, and it's based on scoring and specific criteria. And so they're getting more valuable feedback.
Huge improvement.
Yeah,
The performance review process has improved dramatically. The new form is much more informative for employees and for departments.
it's easier for the supervisors and it's helpful for the employees.
Is there any bonus structure or like, can they get paid more if they do well on their performance reviews?
We have a step system.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bonus. We don't really.
But we don't do bonuses.
Don't do bonuses.
Bonuses in public sector.
If you do classes, though, they got, I thought that was rewarding for taking courses that.
Certification pay.
In our policy, there's like $100, I think it is for, yes, there's certain criteria in our policy.
Yeah, something about
There
training.
there are some, with the comp study, some of that cert pay
Ongoing.
is, you know, part of the actual job and the pay grade. But there are others that still get that cert pay for specialized training.
Those things you just have to keep doing because.
It's just all the time.
Systematically review all internal processes and external service protocols for efficiency, effectiveness, and citizen satisfaction. Example, one-stop shop, click,
Wait a minute.
click fix. I think you guys are doing a
What
great
happened?
job.
Yeah, frontline is
No,
cross.
the last one.
Oh, I thought we just said that was ongoing.
Yeah, I would call that one yellow
Yeah.
more than green. I don't think we're completely there yet, but we've made really great strides.
Okay, now we're starting on citizen access and engagement.
Okay,
Assess the status of all city facilities and services related to Title II ADA compliance, then plan and improvements. I think we talked about that already.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of these.
working.
It's yellow.
See how some of these kind of
Yellow.
overlap?
Yeah, they went
Yellow. That's the ADA transition
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
I think that was strategic.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, efficient, get it, you know.
I think it makes
Assess
it more
the
confusing.
status of diversity, equity, and inclusion in city government and develop ways to assure.
No,
the
no,
city
no, no DEI.
honors its policy commitments
Shame,
and
shame.
improvements as needed. So I think that was, I don't know, there's ever been an assessment, so.
There's never been an assessment.
Evaluate all channels of citizen engagement. Pam, this one's yours.
I'm
Are you
sorry,
paying
but-
attention?
What? No, I'm not. I'm stuck on DEI.
Okay, so we skipped right over it.
Okay,
Red,
okay.
moved on.
Red, is that red?
Yes.
Yes.
Look it, Jason's putting it up on the big screen for you, but the next one you're gonna love. Evaluate all channels of citizen engagement for
Red.
use, effectiveness, consistency, and cost.
Red. I say,
I hear you.
okay, thank you.
I mean, being on city council for a year, then say yellow, like we've gotten better.
I
at
agree with
different
that.
times and there's
I
different,
agree.
and there comes to a point where, you know, we had a room full of people. When they're when they're,
When
they
they're
came here-
interested,
when they're interested, and then the next thing came, they don't leave.
Well,
but when they're interested in and are exposed through various channels that people
Yeah,
really
but
try to
there's also
do.
responsibility for the individual.
Of course.
That they know, go ahead, Jason, we don't need, it's not.
Well, I was just gonna point out that this idea of like broad channels. So what would be considered a channel for citizen engagement? What would you guys think is a channel?
Like Facebook has been a channel,
Facebook.
websites have been a channel, newspapers are a channel if you get ahead of it.
Would you consider letters mailed to specific property owners or emails to specific property owners channels? Because one thing we've tried to do in the planning department, from the parking management plan to JER to now the to downtown design and zoning work, is specific channels. Like, and this is where like this broad umbrella, like you put it on the website, no one's ever gonna see it. You put it in the margins of a newspaper page, no one's gonna see it, but
They read.
you guys were just
But that's-
CC'd on an
that's also
email
not
2
true.
days ago to 238 property owners who
But I'm
live.
sure we had a
on
couple
property.
of people there, why?
Because it got posted to Facebook.
Huh?
Because it got
Was
posted.
there, and that comes to a point, it comes down to a philosophical question, is it government's job?
Yeah.
To find every avenue to try to get people interested?
Yes.
No, it's not, right? So that's a debate though, right? And she's had every right for that. There's a certain avenue where people have to be responsible for themselves.
Yes, they do.
Well, what I'm saying is like,
Super easy
I
to
think,
find out when things are.
I think we have improved our, the channels through which we engage with stakeholders,
Right.
by communicating directly to affected stakeholders.
Well, affected parties has a legal definition and legal implications
Mhm.
also. So I think intentionally targeting them beyond the statutory requirements does speak to your improving community engagement. The number of public hearings, even though not many people showed up over code changes, I think the effort was tremendous. I mean, this is yellow and even green in some aspects. The fact that people aren't responding the way you would hope doesn't mean that the effort to engage them hasn't been made.
Yeah.
Could there be-
Pam's absolutely right. Like, you
Yes.
can always do
Correct.
that. Like,
You could
absolutely.
always hit Facebook.
So
you know.
implement improvements as needed would be ongoing.
Yes.
But what I'm getting at is we have been improving dramatically our outreach and engagement and seeing the response. We
Okay,
had
you are
5
doing
meetings
better.
outside of P and Z and city council around paid parking last year.
Yes.
And they were specific with affected parties. We had 2 downtown business meetings.
Okay,
One which
fine.
had 60 downtown business
Read
owners
off.
there. Next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, we've invited 240 specific property owners, we didn't blast everybody in the city of Sandpoint. We went so far as working with GIS to get a mail and address list and email address list for specific property owners where the zoning changes are being proposed.
Yeah.
So that's like improving our communications dramatically over what we used to do, which was maybe there was a Facebook post and maybe there was a.
Because Pam's right, let's say that we put it in our water, bill, right? I'd be curious how much staff time does that take, how much money, like, I'd be curious if the trade-offs are.
Well, you also have to look through the lens of when the staff has done a very robust community engagement process, those people already feel heard and they don't come to the public hearing because they're not in disagreement. And they don't feel the need to come support. They've been heard. They don't oppose what's coming forward. So I think it's a little narrow to say that lack of people showing up at a public hearing means they didn't know about it. You could actually have the result that they've already been heard. They felt heard.
Staff is doing community engagement outside of the public meeting. By the time something gets to you, ask us how many community engagement efforts have been done.
Go, Joe.
Who does our social media for the city?
There's really not.
There's really not.
City clerk.
Haley's
Haley?
raising her hand.
And that's under an umbrella of public records that we
We're not
don't have
putting you
time to
down.
go into today.
Sorry, what?
And it's because it's narrow because it's under the requirements of public records that we're not going to go into public record law today.
Sure.
But there is a reason that social media presence is very limited.
Well, yeah, we're just using it to inform public on certain things, workshops or,
With no ability to
But-
reply.
yes, no, there's no commenting.
Yeah, I mean, just to evaluate the channels, which is, social media is a gigantic channel.
And we use it. The
Yeah.
website, Facebook, we have the e-notifications. We use the radio, press releases.
Yeah, so like what I guess I'm saying is like maybe yellow, but there might be some more to do.
Well, it says.
Well, there's
improvement.
yellow means we've been doing it.
Improvement says needed.
Yeah, so not green.
No,
Not great.
One
I vote not green.
One thing to highlight here, it says evaluate the channels for effectiveness, consistency, and costs. And I think we've done improvements on engaging with different platforms, but I don't think we've actually gone, we might survey the next couple outreach. How did you get here? We don't know like what is actually reaching people. What brought you to the room?
So that
Was it the
might be
newspaper? Was it
something
Facebook?
good to do.
And then what did it cost? We could also run reports on what it actually costs to send those mailers out. It's not-
Michelle said she could push buttons to use.
For the utility
to
billing.
Utility billing that get it online, and she said it wouldn't take anything for her to do that.
And that's one.
I'm just
mechanism of
saying,
it.
yeah, I'm just saying that's another one that we don't use.
We do.
Yeah, we use it a lot.
There was one of my last one.
I used utility bill customer email addresses to email 238 property owners
But you were
yesterday.
like, I didn't get one.
You did, you were succeed. Yeah, you got it.
Even though I pay automatic online, but I still gotta pay for it.
I
I just
didn't.
have to remember to turn it around and look, and not be angry at the price.
Okay, it's better,
Okay.
and because we
keep
did
going,
that
guys.
online
You're
thing.
gonna leave
Never
it
get
for-
through.
Okay, fine.
Evaluate the city website as to quality,
Here we go.
consistency, ease of navigation and usefulness. I think the website has undergone a tremendous overhaul. since-
Yes.
That one's, yeah.
Entirely new.
Yeah, it's all brand new. Review and identify an updated organization structure and systems to enhance city communications and outreach, then make improvements as needed. I think there's been drastic change to your organizational structure since 2022. I think it is really critical that you continue to evaluate strengths and weaknesses of your current organizational structure. It's probably ongoing continuously.
Communications.
Yeah. Increase the frequency, channels, and variety of information that is gathered from and shared with citizens, routinely assess community issues, interests, and citizen satisfaction with city services, and leverage technology to enable more people to provide input on specific topics of interest and participate in their local government. I think that speaks
I'm done.
directly to our previous conversation.
Yeah.
And the question will just be when you come forward with your actual strategic planning effort, how much of this is still important to four or more of you?
And it might be able to be sort of
Modified.
modified and
Yeah.
sunk into.
One piece of it or something.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of it's been done.
Yeah.
Well, and remember, your facilitator is gonna take what you say during the process, and then they're going to reduce it to a written product like this. And if you don't like the words, you don't understand the words, you can have a workshop to modify the words. You don't have to just adopt it the way they wrote it.
Yep.
Complete implementation of the enterprise resource planning software and system and related written policies, procedures, and training.
What is that?
Yes, we completed it and then another one sent
That-
us.
yeah. Is that the SA?
Yay.
What's that
No.
SA?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, that's done.
What's the name of our ERP system?
Now,
Yes,
that's
sir.
not written procedures for this one, but since we've implemented the cloud version of it.
Oh, yeah.
We still need, I would say it's yellow, because, I don't know about your area, Jason, do you guys have all written procedures and, training for your areas?
For BSA? No.
For CD, so I would say that it's gotta be yellow. then.
It's
gotta be yellow.
green and yellow.
Done, and some are not.
Yeah.
On the area.
We've implemented the new ERP, but we haven't completed written policies, procedures, and training.
Did we purchase the software or did we release it?
S&A is.
It's an initial,
Free, wasn't it?
usually ERPs, if you buy it, the implementation and you pay an annual subscription for it.
The license.
The next one is reevaluate and update citywide staffing structure and 5-year plan to align with capital project plans and growth projections. That is very few words for a very robust process. Because your strategic planning is great and your capital improvement planning is great, but if you initiate a body of work that requires 500 people, well, guess what? You don't have 500 people. So you have to be mindful of it continuously of, are you putting in place a body of work in a time frame that can be done by the people that you have?
I would point out that there have been changes to our staffing
Yes.
to advance the strategic plan in the form of additional planning staff. We've got
Yes.
2 project
Agreed.
managers at the city that are overseeing streets and sidewalk plans, and that's happened. There's work to be done.
Still work to be done.
Implement the IT 5-year master plan?
So there's actually not a master plan, so I don't know why it says that there's a master plan.
Maybe they were contemplating one.
Maybe,
There was one.
but it's just an operations plan. It's not a master plan. So it's like a business plan, but we have implemented a lot within that. We have our 5-year rotation on computers. We evaluate the infrastructure, evaluating what should be cloud, what should be on-prem. So I would say that there's been great strides in this, but I would call it yellow.
What's the deal with disaster? I mean, are we required to have it, like most city are required to have some sort of disaster recovery plan, I thought?
Oh, did you jump all the way down to the bottom?
Yeah, you're on another one. We're on the IT one.
Wish we're on the bottom one.
We're gonna get there. Here we go.
Wait, I have a question on that one first. You mentioned the efficiency audit.
Yes.
Do you expect that to come up with any actionable items for IT, or? I remember that was one of the justifications that we used when
it's
we
pos-
approved it.
Well, it is possible, and Ben, the IT manager, they are currently working with a contractor vendor that really helps evaluate the server needs. Because when he started, right, that budget was brought forward from the previous IT. When he started, he's questioned whether we need to have a replacement like that was budgeted. So it's going to be a hybrid between cloud and on-prem. But he's currently like working through that. So the 125,000 that was budgeted is likely going to be, less than that. That's what we're hoping, but yeah, he's spending a lot of time making sure that we only have what we need and we're only replacing what we have to actually replace.
Okay,
So.
Answer yes.
perfect, thanks, yeah.
Complete the roadmap plan for how to best optimize use of the city's GIS. I know there's been a lot of work on GIS.
A lot of GIS work. We have a contractor really still working on the foundations, but doing actual projects for departments. So I'd call that yellow because we've come a long way from where we were even 9 months ago. So
Develop and implement centralized fleet and equipment maintenance management, and a 5-year capital plan that optimizes acquisition and replacement.
The
That'd be
plan,
like a mechanic. Thank you.
I'm
guys.
sorry?
Mechanic. Is that like fleet and equipment maintenance? Is that
Yeah,
like your
vehicles,
trucks and all your
equipment. So the plan is gonna be to bring forward for consideration an asset inventory that will provide basically will accomplish this and get us on a plan, replacement plan for our fleet and our equipment and
So this is almost green.
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
it's almost green.
what kind of timeline are you talking on that?
It would be included, it would be included in the next budget if it got approved within the budget. So it would be completed, by the end of the next fiscal year. It's not this fiscal year.
Is that plan happening? I'm not familiar.
Part of the, it's gonna be included in the budget for an inventory and a plan
For next year.
for next year.
Okay.
It is not in this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds.
But at least we're headed down a direction, so,
I misheard. I was like, this is done. I was like, wait.
oh,
what?
no, I wish.
Optimize emergency response planning and preparedness and develop these kind of lump together.
do.
Citywide disaster preparedness plan that addresses community needs as well as organizational continuity, safety and redundancy. I believe our guys
Jeremy
are.
said he had one
That's
done.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had talked about it in directors meetings. And
Yes.
Right.
So I
He
believe
said it is done.
that's. Yep, couple more. Develop and implement a 5-year facility plan that addresses updates, replacements, preventative maintenance,
Oh.
and plans for a new centralized city shop facility that serves all maintenance groups and a new police evidence facility.
There's been discussions.
I think this is like.
That's red.
Right. Say Corey did.
That's all red.
Set clear protocols for establishing, informing, supporting, and leveraging commissions and advisory groups and clarify, sorry, I'm laughing. The purpose, roles, mode of operations, standards of participation, and renewal cycle for each. I'm
I'd
laughing
say
because I
yellow.
think there was an effort, but it might need to continue to be talked
Yes.
about. It's very
Agreed.
yellow.
Very yellow. That's a fluorescent yellow.
We're almost there, I promise.
Well, your
2 pages.
protocols is a tough one.
Strengthen intergovernment relations. Finalize an agreement with the Sandpoint Airport to ensure compatible land uses and first responder services in and around the airport.
Wow.
Not that I'm aware
Red.
of.
Very red, Jason says. We need to do that. Or you guys need to decide if we need to do that. Sorry.
We have not done that.
I'm
Right there.
not done that.
Yeah.
Continuously review and update contract service opportunities with other jurisdictions that provide benefit to Sandpoint taxpayers and meet peak demands due to tourism and recreation.
Oh, yeah.
0,
Red.
red.
I can't think of anything.
Do we know what services or there contract service opportunities?
I
It's
would
up to our
say
council
maybe
to-
that has to do with, like, we were kind of renting our police to Kootenai at one point.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that it
Resource
falls back
opportunity.
into that space.
School resource.
Yeah, that sort of.
So one of the things, if there are items on here that like intrigue you, but you don't really know what it means, like work on your own definition as you come into the next session. Complete and implement components of the urban area transportation plan. Did we already talk about that?
I thought so.
Green. We like green.
That was on the other page.
The next one's great. Assess regional water utility opportunities that address current and forecasted demand, provide cost savings opportunities for Sandpoint ratepayers, and ensure adequate fire flow for fire.
We're just talking about that one too.
Yellow. Yellow. And last but not least, economic prosperity. Complete construction of phase 3 of the downtown revitalization project.
Yellow.
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 I want to make it green.
You're getting there.
Greenish yellow.
Chartreuse.
Bugger.
A study of highest and best use for the city-owned downtown parking lot and pursue a public-private development in conjunction with Sura to develop a city parking structure and private development that contributes to the downtown.
Yeah.
It was a study.
There was a
study.
Well, the studies was not of the highest and best interest of the city.
Oh. So that's,
No, it was just a parking study.
it's red.
Definitely.
That's red.
Definitely red.
Zero, or that conversation ended.
Yeah.
Red. Build out and realign the city-owned economic development fiber system. Here you go, Josh. In the downtown core to allow for vertical development on the parking lot and provide a 50-year fiber optic infrastructure.
Wow.
Red.
Right, oh.
Now, I don't know that it would be red because we are starting to incorporate fiber projects to build out our fiber network in capital projects. Yeah, it's more like orange.
But
Anything with the city-owned
He
economic.
doesn't have orange on
It's
his.
downtown.
And
Yes, it
we're,
does.
and we're talking about like for phase 3 is gonna hopefully incorporate fiber. So
But is it
we're
specific to the
starting
parking
to
lot?
talk about it.
I'd call it red for now. And yes, there's conversation, but I don't think there's any.
The needle's not-
We're not far enough along because like we've talked about that we need to do a fiber inventory and we need to update our fiber business plan.
So let's
and
leave this one
Talk
red.
about
and-
ordinance changes. So, yeah.
Okay, evaluate what role, if any, the city may take in concert with the Bonner County Economic Development Corporation and independently to strengthen economic development and implement an updated plan.
That's a high priority of the mayor, and that's one of my projects that I'm working on in the next 2 years, is an economic development strategic plan. Already come,
Says yellow.
but it's on-
More regional?
So would that like,
It's gonna be more Sandpoint centric.
like partnering with like the Ponderay Economic Development Group and stuff like that?
So right now it's red, but for these guys to decide whether or not it stays on the list.
Well, yeah, actually, so interestingly, this one is regional, right?
Yes.
Because the prompt is evaluate what role, if any, the city may take in concert with the Bonner.
Yeah, this would be a regional discussion.
Development Corporation and independently to strengthen economic development and implement an updated plan. So we did just last year, complete, the steps report, the 10-year community economic development strategy for the Panhandle region. I participated in that along with Bonner County Economic Development Corporation, Brent Baker, over 6 months of meetings, mostly down in Post Falls and Portland. So that's actually been done. But I don't think that's this is necessarily relating to, this is something more local. That's something that is in now and will become in the next 2 years.
So that's two different things then, because if
Yes.
this has been done, then there needs to be a different
Well, yeah, I just don't know.
a different bullet for what you're doing now.
I don't know that there's been any
lot of-
conversations with Bonner County about an economic,
No, this is not Bonner County, this is the.
I mean, the Economic Development Corporation about a joint
Yeah.
Right,
economic development plan.
yeah, I call this specific objective red.
Last and not least, implement the initiatives contained in the adopted 2021 Arts, Culture and Historic Plan. In works, yellow.
Short preservation, then folks.
You know what this really shows me is that they need to be succinct goals. There's a lot of blah blah in all of this, and there's few things in one, and they overlap, and I don't know, just make them more specific.
So
Measurable, or measurable.
more measurable, yeah. So first, as you guys go through this, look first at these categories, is responsive government, resilient economy, sustainable environment, vibrant culture, and livable community. Are those flowing out of your currently adopted comprehensive plan? That's where this comes from. So you're gonna look at this in comparison and contrast to your comprehensive plan and pull your strategic plan out of what you recently adopted.
Are we gonna have all those pulled out in front of us in our next meeting, the comp plan, just so I can see it all?
Yeah, your facilitator will get some direction on organization. So last, you guys aren't finished because you have an action item.
She was just telling me that. She's like, no backup yet.
Packing up.
Point of order.
I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I do have just information on a few of the facilitators. That I could provide to council. It says not gonna change the action.
Well, they wanted to select the facilitator today. So if they don't have enough information for that, then we're gonna need a plan.
Because we don't have proposals and I would need to get proposals from at least 3 of them. So I found a total of 4 and 3 provided me information, but without like having an idea, and this meeting kind of gave the idea of what we're looking for so that I can give them a scope to be able to provide proposals. But it'll take, I mean, typically when you request them, it takes 1 to 2 weeks to get the proposals in, so. So we're not gonna be actually able to select a facilitator today.
So our action item today
There
is
was,
to,
I mean, there was no way that I could. I mean, even they said we can't give a proposal without a scope and without this meeting, it's like, what is that?
so our action item would be a request of proposal then.
To direct staff to
Bring you proposals.
bring you proposals for facilitators for the strategic plan.
By when?
Should take
I think. So, as soon as possible.
We have to hold a
As
special
soon as
meeting
we
on
can
it.
get them.
Yeah, I mean, can staff evaluate the proposals and then you guys contact?
Yes.
I mean, you want us to expedite this, right?
Yes.
That's-
So
Yeah,
I would make a motion to direct staff to bring us contracts so we can make a decision at our next meeting,
Which is next Wednesday.
as soon as possible.
Just set a deadline and say, hey, if you guys want to do business. with
so I will not be able to get it by next Wednesday. We're already at
I'm gonna
Wednesday.
take the action for that, and if it
Okay.
doesn't happen, you don't have control over that. There's no
Okay,
repercussions for
Okay.
it. But I want the immediacy of what we're trying to accomplish to be evident that it is.
yeah,
At our
ASAP.
next
Yeah,
meeting.
wait a second. What threshold is this meeting to require 3 proposals?
20,000,
You think it'll go beyond that?
no idea.
We have 10 budgeted and we spent about 10 last time.
I think we are under our spending authority. We don't need proposals. You get the most information that you can with the time frame and the cost and bring a contract forward.
I do have a
Thank you.
firm that I think would be really, really good. He specializes in strategic planning. That he has a company called Best Day HR. He's provided the most information on services and their company.
So I guess what I
I
would
kind
like
of
to see
agree.
happen is, I mean, this is more of what you do, and I guess I would say, because Fonda has experience outside the state of Idaho, that, consult with her and bring us the people that,
Or just bring you a contract. Why don't,
bring us a contract
Yeah.
for someone that
If it's up
feels
to the-
appropriate to do this at this level.
It is should be under the threshold.
Yeah. If you
Shouldn't
do it
cost that
for
much,
For quotes and signature authority.
correct?
So
Yeah, I'll be able to sign the contract.
where is this person coming from?
I only reached out to Idaho based. So only those in Idaho that's specialize in Idaho.
Any local?
No,
Closer to North Idaho than South.
Want someone from outside the area, otherwise they've got too much
they might have a conflict.
baggage skin in the game, yeah.
I agree.
most of them were for down south.
I do wonder if we were to broaden that to a regional pool of consultants or, strategic planning experts. Fonda, what's your opinion on like the need that they have, expertise in Idaho law? If you're part of this process, yeah, there's,
And I don't believe our last strategic planning facilitator was from Idaho.
I'm pretty sure.
Washington.
Yeah,
Was he from Washington?
Washington.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I thought.
my opinion was he was excellent when I went through that. Joel, Deb, I thought he did a excellent job.
Are we talking to them again?
Is he who you have?
No,
Oh,
Can you?
nobody said they knew who that was.
Would council be okay reaching out to
Well,
that same?
I know who that was.
Oh,
Yes.
I was. No, yeah. Okay, I can reach out to them. I'm not gonna expand further.
Okay. So what would be our action item to bring a contract forward at our next?
Council meeting, if possible. It can go on consent. If it's not there, then
Technically, it doesn't even need to go to council because it's under my signature authority. So I can just sign it.
To
That needs
execute
the
a contract.
correction, except that I wanted to be. Well, I guess it's written in the record right now that staff has the direction, do all of the council members agree, staff has the direction to bring facilitator forward for us ASAP. And with consulting with Fond and make sure it's appropriate. And then move forward with a date we can have our meeting on.
the motion would be, you make a motion for staff to enter into a contract. After reaching out and communicating with the options and with us, enter into a contract on your behalf for the facilitation of the strategic planning and then coordinate dates with you.
looking at a few of them,
Yes,
not just the one.
correct.
Okay, all in favor?
It's a money issue. Please take a roll call.
Oh, let me issue. Roll call vote.
Who made the motion?
That made
Deb.
I did.
Second,
Counselor Duquette,
yes.
Counselor Spiro,
Yes.
it's really loud. Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes,
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Madam President, motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you, Haley. Sorry we put you on the spot.
And we're done, right? Yes. Meeting adjourned at 4:14. Woo. Don't go anywhere. You didn't major.
No, I didn't.